Oh, he's Sui and Nick Hork.
It's a meme from verbal comedy, man, and it's like a tongue twister for Japanese people as well. But
Smash.
hell yeah, the Gorlock, the Destroyer. Chee. I didn't know Gorlock was so thick. Her chin's so thick, she needs her own gutter belt for that. Goddamn. I gotta go to bed because it's
Good night,
time.
Trubs.
Brothers, good night, humans.
You have a question, Cat.
Throw that ass in a circle. That's right. Do it.
I have to type it up.
Bah.
Quack.
Quack. All right, no, not practice. Damn it. Oh yeah. Mm.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I got a free Omnimon.
Don't
What's
worry,
tiny?
the mini
Oh.
Digimons are kind of bad.
We had a fight yesterday where the Jeff ate a few of us and spat us out, but we all survived, jumped back on, and it was just the Jeff tried to run away. He did not. He did not. He tried to murder it. He tried to murder us.
No, but Bob, sometimes you just pick up the whole team and you just throw them straight into their own like home area again.
Look, if you have the entire team in your mouth, the first reaction is going to be eating yourself off the.
Yes, but there aren't all maps you can do that.
Well, then you waste as much time as physically possible.
I just outplayed
Yes, which
a
is why
Psylocke
you
with a
throw
single
them
one
into their own
of
like.
Rocket's healing orbs.
Okay, I get now what strange dark whatchamacallit does.
That you are.
I
Goodbye.
stream.
Have fun. Good luck on stream. Are you gonna be playing
Become
Rivals
Better
soon?
lie.
Hello, everyone. I used Invisible Woman's ult on VIP to get away from them. Ah. Is chat ready to rumble? You ready to woo? Ah, woo! Sorry. I was gonna say I don't know what this song is, and I don't know what Aurelia is dancing to in that regard. So, the tweet is live. Do me the favor, go give it some love, and we are good to go. Again, I hope everybody is doing all right. Let me get you guys the sauce for today. There it is, and here is the sauce on that side. All right. Oh, of course, the one thing I forgot to do, log into my bot. Give me 1 second. It'd be what it be, chat. Sometimes we just have to wait. Because, like, if I don't log into this, I can't see both Twitch and YouTube in one location, and then I go insane. Which, don't let me forget, I do need to look into why YouTube is not appearing on the stream chat. I'm not sure why, but I have a guess. And that guess is probably correct. Okay, now it's up. Now I can see y'all. So how's everybody doing today? Is everybody excited for 7.2? I'm sure some of you are already done with it. We did also get JP stuff. We got a Medusa buff that we get to talk about. We got a 2 new units, actually, that are at least interesting, I'm going to say the least. And the just new event overall on JP, which is... I'm going to say interesting because Trubs was just telling me about things that I was unaware of. So, Mega, thank you for the 67. Appreciate it. Hard to be done with it. There's a lot of reading. Yeah, I understand. Making progress on 7.2, waiting for AP to recover to do more. It's all good. Like I said, you guys basically have an entire 24-hour head start, assumedly, on me. So, because again, I'm going to end up spending today probably just rolling and recording for most of it. So, it'd be what it be. Did one chapter so far. How enterprising of you. There is still half cost QP right now on NA, so I'm still taking advantage of that. We did get all my strengthenings done because again, I just didn't have that many on NA. JP's the one where I have all the strengthenings, so it would be what it be. Rolled early in the morning. Yeah, how was chat's rolls for those of you guys that did roll for Tez? Were you guys lucky or unlucky? This is actually the JP event. Is it? I was gonna say, is it gonna let me? Because I didn't have any storm pods there, which tells me that clearly it had not relogged me. How's LB7 treating me? So far, so good, considering I haven't touched it. Like I did part 1, but we have not. Oh, what is that? Yucky. I feel like I've gotten this before, and I feel like the answer is choose the right choice. Yeah, I think it's just privacy policy. There you go. Nothing deleted, I hope. Looked out with Biscione. Again, we have the 2 new units, a single target Lancer and a single target Saber. It is definitely interesting. We will talk about both of them today, but I do need to do my rolls. So I think first things first, we're going to spend down some AP here real fast. There we go. And then do the rolls, and then we'll get on to the recording. Give me rights away so FGO can spy on your mobile phone transactions. No big deal. You know, I'm gonna say this: if the Japanese want to steal my information, they can go ahead, because it's like I don't know. I don't think the Japanese would do much with it, right? Like, oh no, they've built a history of my purchases so that they can market themselves better to me. Like, that's honestly that's normally all they really want your info for in any of these companies anyways. But I don't know, at least some of the like Chinese companies, I'm a little bit more wary of their government more than anything, so I just go like, nah, I'm not a fan in that regard. It was the TOS update thingy. Yeah, I didn't see if there was like any actual like major change. I assume it's just them updating for like current year in effect. Anyone who wants that info can buy it from Google. Yep. I think actually like harvesting like people's like metadata and stuff like that should be illegal. It should also be illegal to sell it. And it's quite literally done purely for the purposes of like advertising and stuff like that. So it's like, they'll say it's like, oh, there's no harm in it. I'm like, yeah, but what happens when the metadata is sold for other purposes or something like that? What happens when that sort of stuff is like just compromised in some way? So it's like, to me, you really just shouldn't have that major repository of info. Did I stop YouTube streaming? No, it should be live. It's live. I'm just so I'm now on a new channel, if you were unaware, Kaz, where basically we switched channels. Like, how long has it been, Chad? Is it like a week ago, where essentially my second channel, we started doing the live streaming over there because apparently live streaming was affecting the algorithm. So I just was like, okay, screw it. We'll just start a second channel. That way it's not going to like hurt the algorithm of the main account in that regard. Reminds me of customers who bitch at me how they don't want to scan their ID to buy booze and cigs because the government tracks it. I'm going to assume most of those are just like they're worried about it for various reasons. Either they don't have a legitimate ID, they're underaged, or they are literally like some sort of criminal. That's usually what I assume those are. But like in the case of like more like, hey, you just don't want your actual like data harvested, that I understand. I think it's like it unfortunately is getting harvested everywhere you go on the internet, but I don't think it should be. Like I'm talking about it more from the like moral standpoint than anything. Yeah, thank you for the link, Jay. Appreciate it. I need to probably sit down and work on my like timers and stuff like that so that it's actually handling it. The place is scanning everyone. You know they got busted for selling to underage people. Pretty much. Or I guess like maybe they don't want to get busted, but I don't know. Like I just always assume it's one of those deals of like if the person's objecting, they probably have a reason to object, right? Because like, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've only ever been carded like a handful of times in my life. Most of the time, people just take one look at me and they're like, yeah, he's a bitch. Part of that, I think, is my height more than anything. But, like, quite literally, it's like, yeah, I had a time, and I'll never forget it, like, back in college where I think, like, I want to say it was, like, over, like, a summer, like, a vacation or something. But I was with my family, and my sister, who is the eldest of my siblings, got carded, and I did not. And it was just fucking hilarious because she was like, really? And I was like, I don't know. I guess it's like I have a beard, right? Like, yeah, it just is what it is. Some places are going to card you, but I found it really funny that she got carded, but I didn't. Also, like, low key, I don't know, like maybe it's like some way of like hitting on the girl or something like that. I don't get it, but it be what it be. Scanning is different than just showing your ID. Yeah. People thought I was like 25 as a senior in high school. Thanks, facial hair. Oh, listen, yeah, like I've straight up like seen like kids come in as freshmen that have like full beards, and I'm like, that shit's wild, dude. Like, I don't know that there's anything wrong with the person, but I look at that and I'm like, what the heck, right? Like, are they just like they developed like super early or something? I don't know, but it's definitely one of those deals where like when you see it, you're just like, wow. Everyone else could drink and were carded, yeah. And 31 people still think that I'm 25. Yeah, it's only been like the last couple of years that people have now begun to realize that like I'm not 25. Because it's really funny. I've asked people before and gotten them to guess, and it's like quite literally more than anything, it's been my graying hair that's been like literally the difference. Because if like basically it's like if you can't see my hair at all, like you just assume that I'm pretty young. Because I don't really like I don't have any of the like age lines or anything on my face yet. I'm sure I will. But like I'm not like old enough to really show much sign of aging, really. That's saying I am blurry. Let me check. Oh, well, deactivating won't help that. I indeed am. Probably again because like yesterday we had the driver failure, which again I apologize for everyone that was like lurking there. Quite literally, I had the worst driver failure I've ever had. Like it hard bricked my computer, and it does not normally do that. So it was not something I was pleased with. And like I said, like I asked back then, but you know there were only a couple people left in stream at that point. But if any of you guys knows, like I have no idea why it happens, but like every once in a while I get what I assume to be is driver failure. It's what I keep calling it, where like literally I hear the like almost like disconnect sound in my headphones as like, you know, as you do have driver failure. And then like my mixer completely powers off, my stream deck completely powers off, like my camera and my capture card brick up and stop working. It's like it's super weird. I don't get it, but it like every once in a blue moon it happens, and I don't know why. Doesn't show up in like a crash log anywhere, does it? I wouldn't know where to look. I'll be honest with you. So it's like I'm not really sure why that sort of thing is the case. Rock Snake, yes, it's Shai Halud. Sounds like the operating system is throwing a major error. Yeah, it's really odd. Like I can definitely say I have a shit ton of like USBs like plugged into my my computer, but it's like they operate just fine like 99% of the time, and it's only that like really odd rare like driver failure error that happens like again like I don't know, maybe once or twice a month, and I'm like I don't know why it is. It's just odd. That's all good, JC. Welcome in. Hello, Kana. They plug into your motherboard specifically? What are you talking about? You're talking about the capture card? Because my capture card's actually a USB, which I don't know. Extended memory usage on the hard drive can very rarely cause strange crashes. I mean, it should be like it's not a hard drive, right? Like it's a or rather it's not a disk drive. It's a like I have like M.2s in this, and I maybe like a couple solid states. But yeah, like I don't know if it is like a memory issue or something. It could be like it could be that like it's the computer peaking as like the system resources are just kind of getting overwhelmed. I'm not really sure. Gotcha. Yeah, you're talking about the USBs. Okay. SSD is a solid state disk. So it's like, or solid state drive rather, not solid state disk. Essentially, like the old school hard drives were disk drives where they actually had a disk that would spin up inside of them. Nowadays, solid state drives are literally they're solid, and that's why they're called what they are. So there is no like spinning parts or anything, and it actually helps them last a whole lot longer. In general, they're just faster and they're kind of better. But they can go bad over time, so that is something to watch out for. In fact, I quite literally had that issue with my laptop, which I finally got back last week. How many gigs of RAM do I have on this computer? This is my streaming rig. I want to say it's 12, but I may not be right on that. Let me double check. Yeah, I think it's 12. 12 gigs VRAM. Unless you're asking like the actual like RAM sticks. The RAM sticks, that one I'm not sure of either, but it's probably, if I had to guess, it'd be at least 16. It may be 32. I actually don't know. I'd have to go check. You can check on Task Manager. Yeah, let me. Wait, how do you see it via Task Manager? Like I can see like under process and stuff like my actual like percentage of memory. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I have 32 gigs of RAM. I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, I think I went pretty RAM and CPU intensive on this one because I knew I was gonna be running a crap ton of stuff. And apparently it's 16 gigs of VRAM. That's surprising, honestly. I didn't think it was that high. I thought it was 12. Yeah, it's not like high percentage use. Like right now, the memory is only using like 52%. And like, so chat, I am literally running multiple programs on this computer, several hundred Chrome tabs as well. So like, I'm not going to say that couldn't be the issue, but I am going to say the fact that I'm running everything that I am and it's not like capping out the memory, I don't think that's the problem. You have a 4090? No. No, it just may be the variant. I think this one has a 3000 series. Let me double check one more time here. Yeah, it's just a 3070. That's why, like I said, like I was surprised that it's claiming that I have 16 gigs. Because I thought the 3070 only had like 12 or 8 or something. That's weird. Yep. I don't know. I may have opted for a better variant. I know when I was building the stream rig a couple of years ago now, like I really did. Like I knew this computer was going to be extremely processor intense, and I went like hard into it for that reason. I tried basically to make sure that that end of things would be basically tip top. So it's like I don't have the best in the way of like again, the graphics card or anything in it, but I do think at least on like the memory side and that sort of stuff I did. But like, yeah, the VRAM is what's weird to me. I am surprised that it's that high. Cat, who is Woo? You're not sure who Woo is? Because Woo is you. Okay, so chat, this is the new event on JP. Wait, Trump said we need to get to like 20,000 for the next story chapter. Because like, that's nothing. Apparently you get points based off the type of NP that you use in this event. So like, if you go run one of the nodes, for instance, quite literally the NP card type of the units that you bring is what the issue is. I gotta imagine these first ones are kind of poop. So I'm probably going to do the final one because it's the gold one, as that is usually what I do. I'm gonna try to filter to MLB here. What did I run? Yeah, I ran that last time, and that was hot garbage. Well, actually, hold on. What, I actually had the least in terms of Buster. So, Buster it is. Is it the 4-star? No, it's the 3-star. Wait. That's the 3-star? Yeah, I guess it is. Let me try refreshing real fast just to see what we... Of course, I got worse. I got worse results. Who the fuck puts up Setheno? Why? I guess it is a snake. So it's like, it's... Yeah. But no, actually... Last I checked, Setheno was not on the bonus list, so unless that got updated, she's not one of them. I bet Avalon enjoys that new 3-star event C, probably. Haven't touched the JP event, been doing story on an A. I'll say you probably do want to at least, like, kind of take, like, 20 to 30 minutes and, like, go do JP. Because you don't want to fall behind because it is a point event. There is no like, oh, I can just wait out the time lock and get to a better node. You will have to do the shit nodes in order to get access to the better nodes. So it's probably in your best interest to just go ahead and do them. All right, there we go. There's a MLB 5-star. All right, now what do I want to run? Running my coin means a bond 15. You can see how lazy I am that I literally, when I did it this morning, I did it just by virtue of like taking over one of my old Christmas comps here. Just a second, chat. She's another one of the pesky units that that you kind of want to to have the fifth pen for. Means I should be able to start out with that. Actually, probably want Mystic Code experience. I think it's the Pepe C is the Mystic Code one. No, that's QP. Kataga's Bond at FP? Okay. Hello, Angora. Yeah, I mean, I know I can take it. I'm just trying to remember which one of these is actually the Mystic Code one. There's so many of these damn things now. That's one. It's just, I don't get any other additional benefit, but whatever. So the whole reason I'm doing it, chat, and trying to sell out for the Mystic Codes here is just because of that. Like, if I can get away with using a 3-unit comp, I will. And I basically should be able to here. Yeah, the Gordy one. Yeah, it's just there's one where it's 5% and FP, and that's what I was looking for, but I was just like, whatever. I give up. Okay, now we have Big Hat Morgan. So again, this is one of your upcoming units this year, chat. Very, very spicy unit, to say the least. You guys can see I have grailed mine now. I think she's 102 and I think NP2 or NP3. I don't remember, but she has been a very, very good unit. I just have not used her very much. It's not for like lack of desire or anything like that. Just me trying to get away with like using other things other than Koyanskaya. The phone killer? Wait, what's the phone killer? Well, they max nearly all my Mystic Codes, save for the most recent New Year's one and the Neo Plug Suit. I'm just the most recent one. It's like, I don't really stress over the Mystic Codes too much. I will, like, try to complete them when possible, but it's usually not a big deal. Because essentially I kind of just go like, well, it'll complete whenever I get the opportunity to run it enough. Some content like just forces you into plug suit, so that'll complete on its own. But then simultaneously, if you can't level the other stuff, you just go like, well, whatever, I'll complete them when I get the chance. The real problem is that for like a while there, we did have this sort of like enforced meta of like Buster for a little bit, where we kind of were highly incentivized to run it, and Buster is very much plug suitish related. At least it was until we managed to get like Koyanskaya of Dark and stuff. And so like it really kind of incentivized you to just constantly run plug suit. So it became difficult for a little bit to actually level your Mystic Codes. But especially I think at like high level content, that's true. I think like for lower level stuff, the world's your oyster, but also at the same time you go like, okay, well, I just want to do the like higher level stuff. And so as a result, like you're kind of forced into it. And if you do the low level stuff, you don't get nearly as much experience for it. So it's like it doesn't really matter either way. Is that the 4-star? That's the 4-star. Okay. You like snakes? Not really. It's been really interesting because at least as of this morning, it really looked like a lot of people did not roll the new units. Now, I do think there are more that have, but I'm going to go ahead and point out, behold, as I am like refreshing to try and get an MLB. I don't have ML, like it is filtered to MLB CE, but it's just event CE that I have it filtered to. I don't have it like, oh, I only want to see like the 5-star or something. So this is how much I'm refreshing and can't find one. Like if I go over to mix here, you can see like literally none are showing up. This tells me that the majority of people have not rolled this new event. I just assume at that point that the reason for such a thing is probably due to oh crap, Leo has MLB of the 5-star, but it's not on his coin. It's fine. I'll just take the 3-star. It should work for this node anyways. But yeah, it's like I think a lot of people are basically just kind of in skip mode because I think regardless of how they feel about the units, probably a lot of people rolled like again, either like Christmas, the event after it, or New Year's. And so as a result, they're just sitting there and they're like, I don't really have that much in the tank right now. And therefore, they're just kind of like biding their time. Robo, thank you for the 67. Appreciate it. How are you doing today? Almost to the good number indeed. Hope you're having a good one, bud. Try and level up all my non-plug suit Mystic codes so I don't feel any guilt for using the new plug suit so much. Yeah, like I said, you're at the point where you're like, oh, okay, I've got all of them done, or there's only like one more left. You're basically free. Like, you don't care anymore because you know you're going to be able to make do. Which is really, really nice. That they're running literally every single unit in the game rate-ups. Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Like, I do think that's going to obviously make them a lot of money, but it does mean that like new units released over the next couple months here might not perform as well individually, because essentially you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be sitting on their courts waiting for that one banner that they know is coming. So it's like them making that announcement low key kind of hurt them. They probably shouldn't have made the announcement, because now people have clairvoyance on JP, and y'all know exactly what happens with clairvoyance. It's the same reason that the NA staff always bitches about us having it. They don't want us to have clairvoyance. So the fact that they gave us some, it's like, okay, now we know what to save for. Like again, chat asked me like a couple days ago, like, am I going to roll these new units? And I was like, at first glance, no. Like I withhold the right to change my mind, but at first glance, no. And the reason why is because I looked at them and I'm like, okay, like they're reasonably attractive characters or something like that, but it's not like anything like, it's not my type, right? And so at that point, I just looked at it and said, like, okay, unless it's like the most god tier broken thing gameplay wise, I'm just going to sit and stockpile courts as best I can. Because again, we know we have these banners coming up. So, I mean, like potentially here, I could end up getting like NP5 of every Saber face on JP. But like, that would be a shit ton of money. And I just don't feel like doing that right now in this economy. Like, I'll certainly try to go after like one or two of them, but I already did two of them, and I would prefer not to have to keep like going in deep over and over and over again, because this is something where it's like you can always spread it out. Like, this is the interesting part about FGO, and I always like try to calm you guys down about it, but like, again, this idea that the game like has to be completed now, you have to get all the stuff now, you don't want to have to farm, you need all of your units. Like, chill. The game is a marathon. It is not a sprint. So it's like complete stuff over time. Like, and I'm dead serious when I say this. Obviously, like, yeah, now on some of the saber faces, I roll them in P5 right off the rip. But prior to that, I used to get them to NP5 slowly by like doing like a copy here and there. So that's to me the more patient and better way to handle things. And also, like, over time, it's just going to make things like easier on you. For instance, if you rolled in the early days of JP to get your NP5s, Jesus, that was expensive. If you're rolling now, it's the cheapest it's ever been. So this is an interesting idea in that regard, that like the gacha has actually become way easier overall. And I do think it's something that has merit in that regard. So it's like taking longer to acquire the things you want in a gacha game is usually to your benefit. The devs are counting on FOMO. They are counting on peer pressure. And they are counting on like your own like lust and desire to get you to open up your wallet. So the more you can like ignore that and avoid that, it's usually better for you. Been so much to get MHXA and P2 early on, and I'm far more willing to be relaxed now about it. Yep, exactly. I really don't think you have to like go crazy with it, right? Okay, chat, let me run at least like 2 more of these on an A, and then we'll be ready to begin. It's really funny. This is like easily the most I've ever done training grounds for QP. Or sorry, not training grounds, Treasure Vault. It's by far the most I've ever done Treasure Vault for QP in like a long time on either server. And it's just purely because it is half cost and I happen to actually need it. Like predictably so. So it's like, otherwise I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. It's just purely because like all the stars are aligning for me right now, and it's not happened in like 5 years plus. So it's really funny to me that this is happening. How are you doing today, CZ? How's your day? What do you think of the units on JP? I'd very much hate if they took away clairvoyance by quite a bit. Oh yeah, I like the NA devs try to do it quite a bunch, and there's a reason why. The more clairvoyance you have, the more informed you can make your choices, and therefore the more you can plan, ration things out, and realize that you can either do things on the cheap and be patient, or like not do them at all. Like that's what the devs really truly fear, is that the idea of you knowing what's coming hurts their capability to make money off of you. And to me, I wouldn't be surprised if they ever did come out with like an FGO2 or something like that, if they did do simultaneous servers to get rid of that clairvoyance. Because I think that's what you see with a lot of modern gacha games. They are trying to do like all servers at the same time. You do see occasionally where like one will release like, oh, okay, well, we're doing the global server like a year or two later. That still is a thing, but I do feel like a lot of the gachas are trying to go simultaneous worldwide for, again, that reason. They don't like you knowing what's coming, because the second you know what's coming is the second that you can plan, and the second you can plan, you now have like the power over whether or not to roll and stuff. You don't have that like impulse buy, that peer pressure anymore. You know that you can actually just take your time, because you're like, oh, do I need to roll this unit? No, because I know they have another banner next year. And so it's like that sort of stuff ends up really helping the customer out as opposed to the company. That has massive revenue even with clairvoyance. Oh yeah. Like, to me, that's why I say like they should not try to fight clairvoyance. I think every single time the developers have fought clairvoyance on NA, it has cost them. I think they would like to rub themselves on the back and assume that it actually has helped them. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think if they actually did long-term studies on the effects, they would realize that it actually is worse for them. Not only because I do believe that if it does anything, messing with our banner predictability actually costs them money, not gains them money. And two, I believe the only possible result is not happiness, but rather pissed offedness. That is to say, when you take a banner that people were planning on rolling in like the fall and you move it forward to the spring, people get pissed about that because they had other roll plans during the spring. And what ends up happening is, if anything, they don't roll one of those plans. And so you end up costing yourself actual money instead. So in a weird way, I think they need to stop trying to mess with clairvoyance. I think they actually need to, and I've said this for years now, to the point that I'm pretty sure even Albert low-key like acknowledged it. But again, they need to lean into it. They need to stop trying to like deflect from, oh, everybody, you know, like no, JP's not a thing. Nobody knows it's a thing. You can't know about that. Like, and instead be like, listen, I understand some of y'all know. Please don't spoil for other people. Here is like some of the upcoming stuff, and like instead get ahead of it and try to, like I said, lean into it and advertise it and hype it up. They will get a lot further. So like, and the example I've used before is like, instead, like with Arjuna Altar, instead of like pretending he didn't exist until he was revealed at the live stream, what they should have done is they should have gotten out ahead of it and instead been like, hey, did you know that Arjuna Altar is coming? And like done like highlight and hype videos for him. And that would have actually gotten more people to roll him, rather than quite literally trying to pretend he didn't exist. Like I said, I think that actually would help them. We see this with other gacha games. Like, for instance, I know this is the model usually that like Genshin has had to use. And part of that, I believe, is because Genshin has all of the like hackers and leakers that are there, kind of getting the info out. It's like, if Genshin doesn't put the info out themselves, somebody else will. So it's like, I completely understand why Genshin does it. But I actually do think like that would be a great strategy for NAFGO to adopt. It would be get out ahead of it because you know it's coming, and try to hype it, try to build it up and get people to like get excited for it. And I think that would have a net positive effect and people would appreciate it more. Basically make lemonade out of your lemons. Exactly. Just understand the fact that it's like, you're never going to get rid of our clairvoyance. So instead, the best thing you can do is try to like lean into it and be like on the forefront of it. The hackers and leakers are probably MiHoYo plants. That's an interesting conspiracy theory, and I wouldn't say that it's like wholly unmerited. I do think there is like some validity to that. Okay, chat, let us do Latez rolls. Okay, now again, his Saint Graph is locked basically for stage 3. That's just going to be a little bit of a problem there. I want to double check to make sure I acquired everything for the Mana Prism shop, but yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I did. And there shouldn't be anything else here. Interesting. Okay, there's nothing else to buy, so we'll start out with the paid single and the tickets. So let's see how we do. We're only going for 1 copy of Tez. I think we're gonna go for 2. 2 copies of Tez will make me at least like reasonably future-proof for exactly what we were talking about. Like, if you guys remember a couple of days ago, or rather, I want to say it was like maybe like 2 weeks ago at this point, we had like a big discussion about like Tez versus Cuckoo and all that. And a lot of people were trying to stump for Tez, and I tried to bring up the fact that while yes, Tez is a very strong unit, a a lot of that is tied into his kit. And if you're actually trying to use him as like this like member of a like multi like damage dealing setup, you can do that. But that probably means that your Tez needs to be strong enough to take a wave on his own. And so it's like, when you start thinking about that for like neutral applications, getting that second one again ends up being like something that's going to give him at least a little bit of buffer room. I don't necessarily recommend that like everyone get NP2 because I don't think he's a unit that you really do want to use in neutral situations a lot. But it is going to be, again, something that's like, it's going to help him if you're trying to take him into one of those situations. That way, Tez might be able to take out like the shit tier, like early wave, even if he's neutral. So it's like, that's just kind of how I've thought about him at this point. And I did try to like warn you guys about that a couple weeks back when we were talking about it, saying like, yes, just keep in mind, while Tez is a good unit, obviously he's an assassin. So it's like, you're going to want to use him against riders. That is going to be his major like area to use. So if you're trying to do some of the other like crazy stuff people have done with Tez, you need to start thinking about him from a neutral standpoint, which is exactly the same advice I've given you guys on, you know, like units like Space Ishtar and stuff. It's like, if you're going to take units into a neutral scenario, understand NP1 probably not going to be the best of situations for you. Yep. Good luck finding a support Tez with MLB battery append. I mean, you say that, right? I'm going to tell you flat out, NA will probably have way more than JP does. JP, I gotta admit this, and it's sad, but like all of the work that like I think, you know, content creators like myself and just the general community overall have done to try to get the like at like the friend point loadouts and everything, your support listings kind of like homogenized and like tailored well, so that like the community overall has like a general consensus on what to do, has been completely undone by triple supports. And as much as I like having the triple supports, it is now like the Wild West whenever you go to try and find like a particular unit combination, and low key it sucks. Like I hate that it is that way that now, because it's like, for instance, I go and I'm like, all right, I just need like a Summer Scotty with like the Bond C, and you would think that would be like a super common thing. But if I go look at my support list right now, there will be like 2 to 3 people at best that have it. And quite literally everybody else is like running random crazy stuff. And that's like the extra one. So you're like, oh, okay, well that one's like kind of crazy, right? So let's talk about like assassins, right? So maybe I just need the Koinskaya with the Bond C. It can also be difficult because like sometimes people are running different craft essences on there. Sometimes people are running, you know, again, damage C's on her. Other times people have other units up that aren't even her at all. So it's like you have really interesting and like weird combinations. So again, people can like do their support list how they want, but it is something that I've noticed is that like this is becoming like more and more of a problem over time, where it's like you need something that's relatively common and like logical, and you would think that like everybody and their brother has it up, and it's like nowadays no one does. It's kind of wild. Cat of the Extella games worth playing? I think so, just for the story, if nothing else. But I will say, if you're not the biggest fan of Muso type gameplay, I don't necessarily recommend it, because that is what they are. They're just very much like hack and slash the entire time. So if that's going to be like a game style that bores you very easily, again, like you might be able to find like videos on YouTube or somebody streaming it where like that way you get the experience without having to play it yourself. But yeah, I don't know. For me, Muso gameplay does get boring. Like I can play it for a little bit, but there is a point where it's like completing the entire game gets rough. So like when I beat Extella, I had to do it like in multiple passes. It just was kind of annoying in that regard. Will I be rolling Ku? Yeah, Ku's probably going to be in P5. Sorry, I should restate that. Cuckoo is going to be in P5. If I say Ku, people are going to think I'm meaning a different Ku. Gold orbs. Is it a 4-star? So I held my breath there because that chat, this is not the only permanent pretender. But there we go. We got Tlaloc. Oh, that's a interesting spark. Hi, Dearmid. What are you doing here? Is it because I invoked the name of Ku? A different Knight of Fianna showed up. Siba, yes. Enjoy my mud. Yeah, but it's not Grail mud, it's deer mud. Jared after that Tlaloc. It is what it is. I would like to get at least a couple of copies of Tlaloc here, but it really shouldn't matter because, again, like rolling for Cuckoo at NP5, unless I just absolutely luck sack that, I'll probably end up with NP5 Tlaloc. She's right up on both banners as the only 4-star. Hutzelapochtli. Yeah, I think I'll call you Tlaloc. Somehow that name actually rolls off the tongue easier than the other one. It's slightly less syllables. Did I ever finish Samurai Remnant? Yes, but no. Like, I haven't done like everything in Samurai Remnant, but I did like beat the main story. I need you to repeat that other name. Let's not and say we did. Oh. There we go. Tlaloc again. The rain goddess must know that I live in Florida. that must be the catalyst. It's the only thing I can think of. Slightly less way to mess up Tlaloc compared to the garbage of letters. Like, it's really weird because I understand that it's like what is it, Mayan or Aztec, right? I don't remember, but it's like I get it. I get that they had like somewhat complex names for things. But like, yeah, there's just a point where it's like I'm not gonna call you that. Like, I will abbreviate the name somehow just to not have to spit all that stuff out. It's like, for instance, in like Rivals, like I a lot of the time I don't call Cloak and Dagger. I'll just call them Cloak or Dagger because I just like saying the entire name is just a pain in the ass. So it's like I'm just gonna basically end up calling them one or the other. Hey, Fleshcad, when do you think we'll see VTuber Cad come back? Precisely when I intend to. No Gamba? I didn't see if the mods ran one or not. It was usually something I leave up to the mods. Happy Medusa got a buff? Yeah. It's been 3,000 years, Pokemon meme. I did say, like, to Avalon, it's like I kind of hope they address Medusa as like a looper in the future. She's got that one hidden P, and it's like, to me, it's wild that it is. I don't expect them to change the hit counts, but I'd like to see her get some sort of similar treatment to like how Void Shiki did, where she basically became a Black Grail looper. I'm not saying that like Medusa necessarily needs to be, but like the way that Medusa loops currently is essentially with like either like double Oberon, you brute forcing it, or like some sort of like really like jank setup. So it's like I would like to see like Medusa just perform a little bit better on that front, be a little bit more synergistic and natural. So it's like this buff that she got here is a good one. I'll talk about it, but I would like to see that part adjusted a little bit. Medusa from 0 would be hard, yeah. Imagine Kukulkan asking a dude and he says, "My name is Bob." Yeah, it couldn't be Bob. I think 50% would be fine, given every unit has a 50% now. Right, that's like, especially for like a 3-star, it's like, okay, she doesn't need to be a Black Rail Looper, but at least like let her work from 50, right? I feel like that's a much better point. But no, I think we're just at this point now in FGO where, especially for the low stars, it's like, even if you can get them to that like better starting point, the damage is still going to suffer. So I think like FGO's got a little bit of a problem on its hands due to the scalability of content going forward. Because like, and this is going to be another interesting thing, for instance, like, how are they going to handle, I don't know, like disparity in the power of like grand servants? Like, obviously they intend you to take a grand servant to a node to like help complete that node. But what if like you take a grand servant to the node and your grand servant is like from a 3-star or lower, and then like suddenly it like can't do the node that they intend you to do with it? That's gonna be interesting to see. So it's like, I don't know what they intend for that sort of system. We'll find out more in the future. But that sort of thing is like getting my gears turning a little bit, and I'm like, because I think the devs are at this point, they're kind of running into the problems they have committed. Like they're going to start to pay a little bit for the sins of like the power the power creep and stuff like that. Because like, because they did so much strong power creep, they upped the difficulty of the nodes. And because they up the difficulty of the nodes, it's much more difficult for like the units that are lesser rarity or have not been given like good buffs to keep them up in line to kind of toe the line and be usable. So yeah, I really wonder, as they start to like move forward, is this going to start to become more and more and more of a problem? And there is a point where it's like, you know, how much is too much when it comes to buffing? Grandcaster Hans finally going to show off his sick DPS. Yes, Grandcaster Hans finally able to withstand an attack. There still could be some sort of internal buff or debuff in that node. Yeah, like, again, it's all conjecture at this point. It's just something that I've thought about, is like, you know, how will the like lower rarity units perform in that sort of sense? Because like when it comes to grailing, for instance, grailing past like, say, your character's end level is just pure linear scaling. Whereas like normal leveling, yeah, there can be linear units, but there's also like S curve and reverse S and like all that junk. So units do scale a little bit differently, but after their max level, they all scale the same. Thing is, where that max is a disparity. So it doesn't matter that they all scale the same, because some units are just working with more. And that becomes a little bit of an interesting problem to have. And I think as we start to head into like more exaggerations of the grailing system, which is something that I assume that the grand system will be, you really do start to wonder, like, okay, is this going to have like negative repercussions? Is there going to be like a huge gap? Is it going to be like, oh, if you have like, I don't know, like grand Morgan Le Fay, she just wipes the freaking node and just like you laugh at everything that the devs throw at you. But then if you have like, I don't know, like Grand Spartacus, then like he just can't do jack crap and he dies. So it's like that sort of thing just makes me wonder. Wooooooo with me, but it's not Wooooooo, it's woo. Taylor Swift monologuing. That's right. I hope the dev don't assume that everyone will grand only SSRs. Oh, I'm sure they don't. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how any of that's gonna go. Right? It's interesting to think about and talk about. But like I've said before too, it's like if all the grand system amounts to is that like it's usable in part two's equivalent of like Temple of Time. It's like, okay, that's a cool idea, but damn, you did so little with that, because that'll just be like a one and done type of thing. People will complete it, they'll get done with it, and then it's like, okay, well, what now? Well, now you can never use your grands again. So it's like, I'm not gonna say that like grand farming is gonna be a thing, but I do wonder, like, will they continue to find uses for it via the story? Like, is it just gonna be one off and then it's useless, or will it like come back at certain key moments? Everyone getting smashed, I see. Perk limited 0 over in Bonsea? Yeah. I mean, you could also do something like Victor of the Moon with them as well. Grand Farmer? Yeah. Grand Lancer Coup surviving until the heat death of the universe. Right? Like, that's... it really is interesting, because, like, that sort of thing, you wonder. Oh, Holy Maiden of Winter. Yay. It is not a C that I need. I'm just going to go ahead and call it, chat. Somewhere between the Tez rolls and the Cuckoo rolls, we will get a Black Grail on an A. And I will mauled, because it could have been something that I got on JP. I wonder what they plan to do for grand supports like Tamama Waiver, etc. I don't know. I'll probably have a grand Castoria, so I'll let you know. But like, yeah, I think that sort of thing is a really like interesting idea. $2030 in Bonsea would be a good deal. No, I wouldn't do 2030. I would do whatchamacallit, Prisma Cosmos. Prisma Cosmos Castoria is such a busted combination, because like, especially if you're pairing her alongside like Merlin, like in the like Invincible comp, right? Like, holy crap, dude. I want to see the worst grands possible. Yup. Like, and I'm sure people will do it just for the meme. I also wonder, like, will you be able to change who your grand servant is, right? But it's not Wooooooo. It's Woo. It's Woo hentai. Grand Zerker Hijikata Infinite Guts. I mean, Hijikata's not that bad now. Like, he's got like charge and everything, and again, like stackable guts in his kit, so he's actually a lot better than he used to be. Grand Jason Supreme Saber Looper. That would be a little terrifying. I have seen someone with a 120 Jason though, so. Grand Shen Gong. Yup, that's Grand Executioner. I mean, you do have 7 classes, yeah. Well, we know we have 7 units. We don't know if there's like class restrictions. Like, for all you know, you can have like 7 of the same class. So it's like, it's an interesting idea. Why is that a saber again? Oh, hi, Lenling. You just got a buff on JP. What are you doing here? Go over there. Show up in my rolls over there. Oh. Well, the 4-star rate's certainly good. Grand Red Hair will surely be the next Fate Grand Carnival. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. You just landed on one of the worst possible ones right there. Grand Red Hair. I am sure that the master in Carnival will do it, but like, man. Cad, you forgot to turn off your Saber Catalyst? See, that's the secret. It's never off. It never turns off. I get spooked by sabers all the time. Can my grand Diarmid saber beat the node? Don't know, maybe. I will say, probably out of anything. Hold on, chat. I gotta load up more farming here to grab myself some more quartz. Gotta go to the fields. I actually have to switch which field I'm into. Nelson, thank you for the prime. Appreciate it. Thank you for the 7 months. How you doing? Oh, someone would song request this. Okay, chat, farming complete. No, you see, that's gonna be the flip side. Like, Grand Lancer, like Mary Anning, is gonna be capable of clearing the node, but Grand Lancer Mellison won't be. I'm so conflicted on who to grand. I'm thinking maybe Nero. Go with whichever units you want. Like, again, I'm gonna say this. At least for like UNA players, you will again have the benefit of clairvoyance. So you will know, like what to do on like the grand system. And I guarantee you I will put out a guide talking about it. So to me, not a big thing. Will they finally bring the account linking to NA? I was literally just thinking that like they really do need to bring the whole account system and like purchasing courts through Aniplex of America's like site or something, because dude, I am tired of these $80 packs. Give me cheaper. Holy crap, JP is way cheaper right now. It's gonna be Grand Liz, Grand Liz, Grand Liz. Yeah. Someone's gonna be like, name your 7 grands, and I'm gonna be like, Artoria. And then they're gonna be like, damn, I set the bar too low. And I'm just gonna be like, it is what it is. How is Cad gonna pick 7 saber faces grand? Yeah, it's almost like I already have that set up, right? It's quite literally just my 120 support list. If I can grand how 100%, that'd definitely be a nice one. Toyota RAV4, thank you for the follow. The cat Artoria is the one and only grand. You need to list 6 more. Yeah, Artoria. There, I listed all 6 more. Only 3-star lists for lulz. Yeah, you could. Every choice was leading you here, yes. What if the grands have a duplicate name restriction? Literally nothing in the game has that, so why would that suddenly have it? Like, I have never seen them do that. That would just be basically like asking to make less money. Because I'm sure, like, some people are going to go like, oh, well, I need to roll this to like NP5 because they're going to be my grand unit. You know, chat. you know that's how some people are gonna think. What MP level are we going for Cuckoo? In P5. And I want to be clear, that's not for gameplay reasons. I have to make that abundantly clear. That's not me like saying do as I say, not as I do. That is Cad going like, damn, I really like space hot woman. We don't have Bon 10 mash. In P5 for those assless chaps. Yeah. Well, like I said, yeah, it's the Birdie the Mighty, like I don't know that you'd call it like a spacesuit. It's just like her like leotard basically that she's wearing, but it just I love it. It looks great. $241 for NP3 Panther Man. It'd be what it'd be. Stream crashed? No, it shouldn't have. I have no frames dropped. There's a hiccup. That's weird. That may have been on Twitch's end then. For birdie reasons, yes. But no, we haven't gotten any copies of Tez yet, so this is just a pain and suffering until it is done. But we're hoping that we get our hands on them. Again, like, it's really interesting because originally, like, on JP, I was not going to roll Tez. And I basically got pushed into it. And then, like, I'm not going to say I've used Tez a ton, but I am going to say that Tez has still, like, been a very valuable unit to have at times. Because, again, just that ability to, you know, power the entire party a little bit with charge is always going to be nice. Like, it's the same thing as, like, Koin Sky of Dark. It's just having that 30% charger there is really good. And this is also kind of why when, like, again, like the subject of Quick comes up and I look at that and I go like, okay, well, why does Quick not really have those as options? I don't really have a good answer for that. And I just go like, that's really weird. So it's like people can say what they want about Quick, but Quick absolutely does need more tools to me. Does Tez count as a support? Not like a meta support, but he can definitely use him to a supportive capacity. Oh, don't worry, Nez. You'll be waiting eternally. Feel like someone crazy enough is going to put Tez on all grand slot, the mental image of Woo. Oh yeah, I'm sure someone will. Like, Tez is not an unpopular unit. In fact, like, when Tez first came out, the English-speaking JP playing community really shat on him because of his artwork. And, like, nobody on the JP side felt that way. And it was really funny to see just the sheer disconnect between the two servers. And it's like, I'm sure there's some times that, like, the Japanese server looks and, like, wonders what the English, like, speakers think of it. They look over and they just see like pure filth and vitriol like getting spewed out of this side of things. And I'm sure they're just like, whatever. Quick Castoria win. I mean, we really don't need a quick Castoria. Just to the degree that like we have a like 30% charger for the party might help some. I think at that point having like multiple like unit quick comps will just be a lot easier to form. But yeah, it is what it is. I think like these sorts of things are always just going to have like issues in general. But I do believe that there's a lot more that can be done for quick as a card type. Even the art book for Tez on the next con was immediately sold out. Yeah. So it's like I think a lot of the like English speaking crowd didn't realize that the artist for Tez is a very famous mangaka over in Japan, and he's very old at this point, and it's like that's kind of why they tapped him. It was like such an honor for like Nasu to have him do the there you go, Prismacosmos. I wish that was on my JP. It was such an honor for him to like do the artwork for Tez for FGO, because it's like I think that's like how I always look at it, is like, if people have gripes about the artwork in FGO, please understand that the reason why that is because it's a lot of like Nasu going and getting like famous people or people that he really likes to do the artwork, rather than necessarily like, oh, I just want the most like goon baity artist that I can possibly find. It's like, I am going to say I do feel like they need to go get some of the goon baity artists and get them to work, but I don't believe that like every character in the game should be that way. Old guard, yeah. How's the salt going? Not too salty yet. We're not having too great of an SSR rate, but the SRs have been flowing, so things are still going good. Really like Tez, have never understood the hate. I can understand maybe some of the hate for the character, but I don't want to really get into that yet, not until we're like done with 7.2, because obviously some of you now know more than others. But like in terms of like performance as a character, I think there are some gripes. In terms of like game performance, I think he's absolutely fine. And in terms of like artwork, I see what people are saying about the artwork. I don't necessarily agree. I think the one thing that I can agree is that it is somewhat uncanny valley compared with the rest of the art in FGO. It's a different style. But to be fair, I think a lot of people felt that way about like some of the other units that came into the game. For instance, like Nightingale and Dantes, when they first came in, basically had very unique art styles that like some people just didn't like. So it is what it is. Like, I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing. I think having different art styles is actually really good for the game. It essentially it stops the MiHoYo problem of like, why does everything look the same? And to a degree, I'm gonna say this is also just a general issue that I've begun to notice with 3D anime games. A lot of 3D anime games just all look similar now because they're very much like done in the exact same both like lighting style and like overarching like anime tropes, so it becomes so apparent how similar they are. I think that's just kind of an issue with the medium. I think there is room to have different designs, though, and some of the games have begun to prove that. But yeah, it doesn't stop there being some sameness amongst all of it. His art clashed with the style every other servant had. Yeah. That being said, though, there are plenty of other units that do too. So he's not unique in that regard. OG Dante's art is way better than the Count's art. I actually kind of agree. I actually prefer the original style. Given the brightness. Yeah, you can tell like it was done with sort of that like oil paint style, like where it's just like, hey, or not oil paint, but like watercolor. Like that's what it really feels like. Where again, like back in the day, that's how they would have painted an art piece. And so that's probably what that mangaka is used to, and that's just kind of what he did. And I have no problem with it, but I do see like why people have issue with it. And it is a disconnect. It's like other people are going to look at that and be like, man, that looks like hot garbage. Whereas like other people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, oh, that looks really good. And it's just because they like the people that are looking at it that think it's really good have perspective. The people that are looking at it that think it's really bad don't, and they don't really realize that they don't. They think they do, but they don't. Tez looks like he was drawn on a canvas, right? Yeah. And that may be the case. Like, they may have actually done a hard version of it. Where they just like he did the art piece like physically and then they scanned it digitally after the fact. So that may have been a thing. More suited to Magic the Gathering rather than Fate. Yeah, and that's fine. I think like that sort of thing is just subjective. Like, I don't see like a major issue with it. No more so than at least some of the other characters in the game. Like, again, you go look at like Cleopatra and Dantes, and oh my god, that doesn't look like FGO. You're right. It looks like Danganronpa. Because it's done by the Danganronpa artist. Shocking. But yeah, like that just is how it is. Like, there are certain characters that do stick out a little bit more than the others. Hey, thank you for the 21 pure. Appreciate it. Like Woo and Benny styles look like Disgaea. Yeah, exactly. Like I definitely hear the complaint that like, oh, it sticks out. I'm not telling you that's not a legit thing. I'm simply saying that like it's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. Did you see the realistic LB6 art? Which one? You're talking about the one that they showed off at like the NA live stream? Yes, that was a Herc smash, chat. I like Mama Raiko art. Yeah, I mean that's another one that people have major issue with is Raita. A lot of people do not like how Raita draws women. And it is what it is. It's like I said, like that sort of thing, it doesn't bother me. If you don't like it, don't roll for it. It's that simple. And then Osaka Hime spook? Oh, that's nasty. That's right class, right rarity, wrong unit. That is the epitome of a wrong bow. Yeah, most people like Raita's males. They don't like Raita's females. To which I'm just like, I don't know. I find them attractive enough. It is a stylistic thing. I completely understand. I don't have issue with it, but I do understand how other people do have issue, right? Okay, farming complete. Fastest farmer in the West. Females are too overdone, IMO. I don't have an issue with it. Like I said, like it's totally fine, right? Like everybody is going to have different opinions on the different units. Like it just is what it is. Like some people will look at Herc and they'll just be like, bro, have you ever noticed how like absurdly large Herc's arms are compared to the rest of his body? To which I'm just gonna go like, well, yeah, it's Herc. Like, he's the strongest man. it is what it is, right? Like, is it a weird art style choice? Sure, definitely is. Does it bother me? No. I understand what they were doing with it. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I've seen like so much artwork over the years and I've been quite the connoisseur of it that like there are certain art styles I don't like, but I don't sit there and like shit on them constantly. I just go like, oh, okay, I don't like that. And I just don't like interact with it, engage with it. I hate the lack of shading on Tez's second ascension. Yeah, to me, the second ascension looks the worst. But it's also due in part because the second ascension's a rather weird one, and a lot of people don't know about that second ascension, so we're not going to talk too much about it. Yogmod, thank you for the prime. Appreciate it. Welcome to the channel and enjoy your emotes. Chat, can we get some love for our newest sub? Let me see some emote spam. Arms are made for smashing. Yeah. Watch Heaven's Feel Part 1 on Sunday. Herc looks good in that. Oh, yeah. He looks amazing. Wait till you see Part 2. I feel costumes can actually change whether or not I use a unit more. When I got Gintoki's 5.5, you mean Kentoki. Gintoki's a different person. Another Tlaloc. Man, we're going to end up with NP5 Tlaloc before we ever see a Tez. Holy shit. The rain goddess be knowing. Now, chat, have you ever wondered if playing like Hispanic songs is actually like the worst catalyst possible for Tez? Since Tez was like Mayan and Aztec and predates like Mexican speaking Spanish. No? All right, so we're just not going to think about that one at all. Seething in her grave. Well, at least she's not spinning in her grave now. Maybe that'll happen with the next pull. Mayan music? Yeah, I like don't ask me, right? I have no idea. I just wonder if this is like low-key the rudest thing that you can play instead of the best thing. Think adult Hans would be a Spiritron dress? Yeah, probably. I may need a Chihuahua? No, I don't need an ankle biter. We need tribal music? Yeah, we got to get someone on the wood flute. He's an arms dealer, so maybe some war songs will help. That's true. Like, for instance, that one song about war. Maybe Tez avoiding you means Cuckoo will be kind to you since they are kind of opposed to each other? Probably. Let's ban a person per each role as a sacrifice. You want a human sacrifice. You do realize that when you ask for that in chat, it is like the equivalent of you willfully volunteering. Like I don't... The first person to mention human sacrifice is always the first person sacrificed. Mass genocide, yeah. Please no. Starts trying Jade. Well, oh, tying. Okay. The gotcha gods demand blood. Chat, listen, I don't think we need to revert to like pagan rituals of like human sacrifice, okay? I don't think that's necessarily going to appease Tez. I feel like that's just going to result in like blood for the blood god, but none at all for Tez. Like, I think the only thing that would appease Tez is not human sacrifice, but instead a human battle to the death. Wow. Chat's bullying her. Rip my heart out and take a bite. Oh, God. Cad will regret these words the moment he hits pity. What do you mean? I already just assume I'm going to hit pity. But yeah, my house is dirty. Let me zoom that in. Behold, chat. Sleeping floofers. Let the dogs eat one of us? Oh, they would. Like, I'm pretty sure Tez is not a fan of Ricky Martin. Go pet the dogs for good luck. Why? That would just wake them up. They're content. They are snooze cruising. Behold, NP5 Tlaloc. Before ever seeing Tez. This firearm shall act as a catalyst for you, Cad. Good, because I cannot bring a firearm on stream. That is actually one of the things that can get me banned. Oh, we got the new 3-star. Bro, Fletcher, I haven't even seen an assassin. Anime Manatsu, thank you for the prime as well. Welcome to the channel. Enjoy your emotes, and Jack, can we get some love for another new sub? Welcome. You don't have a Nerf gun? No, honestly. I'm like, I know I did as a kid, but ask me where like any of those are. Good luck. What about a toy one? I mean, I have like the Nintendo light gun. Does chat want to see that? I assume I can bring that on stream. It's an actual gaming device. Sure? Okay. I'll go get it. Right back. Behold, chat. The OG Nintendo light gun. Another Prisma Cosmos? Did I really? Yeah, it's wild to me because, like, this is such an old thing, and it still has, like, kept up just as good as, like, any other gaming paraphernalia that I have. Cad streams Duck Hunt. I could. I guarantee you that chat would laugh at me less than the annoying ass dog in that game. Newbie, not gray. Well, considering it's model number NES 005, and it literally says that it's the Zapper, copyrighted 1985. I don't know how visible that is for you guys. Yeah, it's a little old. Put another way, chat. This gun is older than me. So I'll let you be the judge. The light gun needs a CRT to function. Actually not true. Guess what? You can actually use the Wii's like motion sensing bar that came with it to the same degree. That's a really interesting thing that I noticed several years back when I was using it. Cad, aren't you American? Do you not have any real guns? Do you not realize that I cannot bring an actual firearm on stream or it will get me banned? No. That is a thing. You could replace the Wii motion bar by 2 candles. Yeah, that probably works too. But yeah, like it doesn't have to be a CRT. There are other ways you can trick it to work. It's not the best of things, but it does work. They were all surprised that it worked. I've never done that on stream, but I have told you guys about it before. Cat is Kadarican? Yes. I'm Floridian. Have you guys seen like the original Iron Man movie where he like comes out and he's like, I'm Iron Man? That's me, but instead of being Iron Man, I'm like, I am Florida Man. And upon revealing that, everything goes to shit. There's Americans and there's Floridians, yeah. So to make this clear for anybody that lives outside the States, Floridians are like super Americans. That's the only way I can describe it to you. So have you done coke? No comment. I do enjoy drinking a nice coke every now and then. How about that? I expect a news article in your name. There's been at least one. God bless that sunshine law. Yes. Oh my god. Regular or diet coke? Regular. Oh god, no, don't drink diet. Diet's still terrible for you. Like at that point, if I was gonna drink diet, I would just cut soda out of my diet entirely. It's like, this shit's not worth it to me. You still have basically all the negative side effects other than you just don't get as many calories. And I'm like, listen, why sacrifice flavor at that point? Now Leah is rolling while seething in her grave. Damn. Is she gonna start like baby raging as well? I'm getting vivid flashbacks to another person's roles. It is what it is, chat. I just fully expect I'll go to pity at this point. Like the second the rolls go like past like 300 courts, I'm just like, well, we're going to pity. Because to me, it's like, well, I'm usually like lucky, like maybe 330 or something, but like after that point, it's like, nah. To be honest, I prefer Coke Zero flavor wise. I don't drink base Coke. Other than, this is really weird, but the Popeyes I go to sometimes for lunch, their drink machine makes their Dr. Pepper taste like total ass. So I don't get Dr. Pepper from them. I've even told them about it, and they're like, oh yeah, several other people have reported this to us too. And I'm like, then do something about it. Like don't just sit there. Don't just let it taste like crap. Like it literally tastes like, I don't know, like it's like leaking from something else. Like you're getting like like grape soda or something in it. And I'm just like, hold on. Like how do you not realize that this doesn't taste right? They probably need to change the filters. You should maybe not eat there. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's only that one that's actually bad. Like, if I order just normal Coke, it tastes perfectly fine. If I order like any of the other drinks, they taste perfectly fine. So I'm not sure why it is. Flavor contamination? Yeah. I had Dr. Pepper Zero is also really good. Very surprised about that one. Listen, chat. You can drink all the zero you want. I refuse. Did you know Dr. Pepper was originally advertised as a warm-up holiday drink? I mean, maybe if the formula was different, or they they wanted you to heat it or something, because like as Dr. Pepper currently is like cold, that makes no sense to me at all. I live near the Dr. Pepper Museum. Interesting. Have you tried robbing it? Getting a life supply of Dr. Pepper? Here in North Carolina, there are quite a few poorly ran ones. Yeah, I mean, I think double-sided assassin. Come on, Tez. Hey, there we go. Okay, so now we got a copy. It wasn't pity. I just had to taunt the gotcha as if I was going to pity. That was weird. It was served warm. Interesting. I mean, I've had room temperature Dr. Pepper. That's still not actually that good. So that's weird to me. Oh, someone got the Chica dance when they redeemed dance here. Have you ever seen the Love is War chat? It's the dance that Chica does at the end of one of the episodes. Wait, what? Wait, what? Hey, yo, a double? Let's go? It's been a long time since I had a double. Hot damn. Well, these rolls are now good. That went from the rolls being subpar, way under or way over average to now under average. Let's go. I love that for you. Thank you. I do too. Triple? No, let's not jinx it. Let's not get greedy. What's average again? Do you like to start arguments in chat? Because that's exactly what that question does. Woo, double woo? Yes. It's a double woo. A double woo. Oh, hey, he's blonde. Tez is basically an honorary saber face, so Cad needs to NP5 him, right? Do you think he looks like that up there? Compare right now. Do you not see the difference in these two pictures? I'll leave that up to you. Did you know that the national ice cream flavor for the state of Texas is Dr. Pepper? I mean, not gonna lie, Dr. Pepper flavored ice cream is probably fantastic. I'm pretty sure that is a flavor you can get. So, while that sounds really weird, no, Cat, I can't read. Well, I can't read either. Does Aurelia have the saber face trait? Yes. You would know that. The State Fair of Texas. Well, that's fine. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's because of the glasses. If he would just take off the glasses, we wouldn't have this problem. It's not oh, I don't know. He doesn't wear glasses in any of his other ascensions. Yeah, that's a good roll. I will take that. It's been so long since I have tried to go for 2 copies of something, and it just bailed me out like that. Normally, if anything, either the 2 copies come really fast, like pure luck sack, right? or they are like, oh man, let me tell you, I can't tell you how many times over my career I was like, hey, I want NP2 of something. And I did it, and then that NP2 was like 1,500 plus quartz. And you were like, well, that was painful. Let me not do that again. And then I kept doing it. And it's like, it literally happened to me three attempts in a row. Where I think it was like, who is it? It was like King Hassan when he first came out. And like, chat, when did King Hassan first come out? Babylonia. Yeah, it should be. It was a Dantes. Yeah, so I tried to roll 2 copies of King Hassan and 2 copies of Dantes, and then like somewhere else there was a third one. And literally like this was 1,500, this was 1,500, and then like I don't remember, the other one was also 1,500, and I was just like, can this stop happening? 2018? You mean 2017? Cad, tell us about Mao Nobu? No. No. I don't want to talk about Mao Nobu. I love Mao Nobu, but I don't want to talk about Mao Nobu rolls. They hurt me. Oh, yeah, no, that's good. I'm definitely happy that the Tez rolls went well. Because again, like, obviously we're headed into cuckoo rolls next week, but that's like, oh, that's probably bad news for the cuckoo rolls. So it'd be what it'd be. Was it that bad? What about Reigns before? Please stop trying to hurt me. Okay, none of those are additional copies. Good lord, dude. 6 copies of Tlaloc. We haven't even rolled for Cuckoo yet. Ah, yes. The NP question mark, question mark, question mark. What an amazing NP name. Have you got to try cane sugar Dr. Pepper? I have. They're pretty good. Oh, that's Palingenesis. Let's not do that. So all of that is getting the torch. Boom, more rare prisms. Actually, let me go check the rare prism shop. I'm up to 179. And it just reset here. I think we'll buy that. 14 Bond Grails. Yeah, that'll last me. I'm not gonna buy Bond Grails. Like, so we're gonna get a like shit ton of influx of materials coming up this year. So like 14 Bond Grails enough. That should last me into like April. And if I start like running out, I will just purchase them from the Rare Prism shop. But I'm gonna like try to hold on and see if I can get to like the big like dearth of them, because they end up like giving you like I think it's like up to 30 or something like that. So it's like I will end up with like a bunch of these suckers, and it'll pretty much be the same deal for the lures. The only difference with lures is like I can always use lures. Like again, you'll see I'm sitting on like 50 plus of them, but like, oh man, if I wanted to, I could just turn around and use all of them right now. 36, Jesus. Okay, that's weird. Why do I have offset foes again? Did I miss a gold foe? Hate when that happens. Is it that easy to burn through lores when you're me? Yes. Campaign might have given you one of each. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe campaign login? Oh, you think I've like gotten one but not gotten the other? I'm at 7 out of 7 for that. So it's quite literally, yeah, it's just daily and weekly. FP summons, huh? Okay. Yeah, like I did all of these, so this shouldn't be the issue. But yeah, unless I do think that's something that like FGO needs. We need the ability to like check a login bonus. Because like you can see the first time you log in for a day, but there is no other way to check it other than that. And I would like to see like, hey, these are like the logins. I kind of low-key realize that that's a problem that we don't have that after all these years. And I don't really understand it. Okay. Where were we? Got a strengthening quest for Medusa. What skill was it? Bloodfort Andromeda. Oh yeah, it's the attack skill. Damn, too late for this, but it's still a banger. So, chat. This is a really interesting one. Medusa's gotten, quite a bit of love now as a 3-star over the years. As much as they don't like really want to like make her the center stage, you can see she's already had an NP interlude. She's had an upgrade to the second skill, and now she's gotten an upgrade to the third skill. So they're definitely trying to like keep her kind of in line at least. I gotta say, I like that. This is a good buff for Medusa. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to see Medusa kind of raised up in prominence even more, because I think, like, kind of like Ku, I really just feel like she drew a, like, kind of like the shit straw, basically, for like being a beginning of the game unit. And it really just, like, it feels like she's had, like, kind of terrible design put in place on her originally. I will say, like, this probably needs to get upgraded as well, but it is what it is. Like, at base value, this is not a bad skill, and it actually does scale all the way up to 100% compared to some of the other, like, beginning of the game petrifies and stuns. So I don't think that one's bad. The monstrous strength got upgraded originally as well. It was the 3 turns of attack. So this was definitely nice. Again, she had 30% there for 3 turns, whereas originally it was 30% for 2 turns. Never really understood that. I always thought that was a really, really stupid thing. But quite literally, again, she has gotten the critical damage up here for 3 turns of 30%. If you look back, it's really all this skill was just a 2-turn attack. I'm not going to say this is the worst, but I do feel like monstrous strength in general has been a very, like, cruddy skill for, like, all of the units that have it. It's one of those skills where over time I think they have pretty much upgraded it on just about everybody that has it now in one way or another. And so again, they end up giving her both of these effects here. Like I said, it's just nice to in general have like the extra turn of duration. It also is going to increase her own damage against enemies that have immobility status for turns. So again, this is another interesting one, as they've given her now an additional power mod. I like it. I'm gonna say, as of right now, none of these can be applied by the player. So you're more looking at these, and these you may to a certain degree be able to do. Like, for instance, we actually can't apply that one to the enemy. So technically it's actually all of these. But you can apply a basic sleep, pigify, charm, or again, stun slash petrify to an enemy. So that sort of thing does like work to her favor. Again, especially based off her having it on the first skill. So this is just a nice all-around damage upgrade for Medusa. Unfortunately, this probably puts Alexander in a really weird spot now. Because the one thing that Alexander really had over Medusa was his damage output. And he really just doesn't have that now. I guess you could say it's like, well, he's got some like support aspect to his kit, but it really is not that supportive. So I don't really see much of a point for that. Hopefully at some point they do give Alexander an upgrade as well. But yeah, like at this point, I think Medusa is just probably the better overall 3-star rider. I think like in terms of just both usability and damage output, thanks to this upgrade, this really does help with that. I would again like to say that Bloodfort Andromeda really just is not that strong. I like that it has the NP gain in the charge, but to me, this honest to God could just be strengthened again. As we were mentioning before, like the biggest issue that Medusa has in general is she's a one-hit NP. So her refund is just dog trash. It always kind of has been. You can definitely make it like get something out of it, but it's not going to really be enough to facilitate looping on its own. Usually how you're going to 3-turn with Medusa is by brute forcing her with like double Oberon or like I don't know, maybe even like triple Scotty might work to some degree. But yeah, it's like I would like to see her become at least a little bit more like user friendly and loopable in that sense. So that way, like people that do use Medusa and do really like Medusa a lot more can actually like use her fluidly and get, you know, a little bit more power out of her. Because I think this is one of those things where, you know, like we were talking about the grand servant system and stuff earlier. As you start to look at things like this, you start to realize that like this is somewhat of the issue of low stars. Low stars have worse scaling. Low stars have usually a worse kit. So to me, I think the scaling is punishment enough. I feel like we definitely should be making, especially for a more beloved unit like Medusa, we should definitely be making their kits a little bit better so that, again, they can kind of at least function if you do end up devoting a lot of like resources to them. I think that's one of the bigger issues that just 3 stars and lower in general have. You got a 5-star version of Medusa. What do you mean you want buffs for her? Yeah, I mean, like Medusa Saber is an interesting idea, but to me, it's not the same thing as like base Medusa, right? I feel like if you were a Medusa fan and you got into FGO, you want this version of Medusa to be good. I'm not gonna like say anything about like Gorgon or Medusa Saber in that regard. Like both of them are definitely like good units in their own right and interesting characters, but I'm gonna say at the end of the day, like this is it's the same way I felt about like Artoria at first when she hadn't gotten much in the way of upgrades for like new systems and stuff. I feel the same way about Medusa. Medusa should be a stronger unit, especially given her status as a Fate Stay Night character and the fact that she is probably one of the like I'm gonna say like entry points for people to get into Fate, where it's like, oh hey, I really like Medusa. In that regard, making her strong is in the developer's best interest. She is a permanent 3-star though, so it's not going to like gain them any money from doing it. But yeah, it's like I'm a-okay with this buff. This buff is good, but she still to me could use another buff, and I would like to see her become a little bit more like I said, just general purpose usable. Same with Medea. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna make any arguments about like them not giving like Medea any attention. Like to me, that's on them. I've said before, I think like what they're trying to do with FGO, whether or not you or I disagree or agree with it, is like in FGO, this is a Fate Stay Night unit. This is not an FGO unit. And what do I mean when I say that? I mean the developers look at this and they say this unit is like settled. It's set in stone. We're not messing with their lore really. They just are what they are. And so if they're going to do anything extra with the lore, they're going to do it through a FGO unique unit. So that's going to be Medusa Lily, Gorgon, and now Medusa Saber. They don't want to really like put the focus on the original characters. They want to instead try to do things with the more unique versions. So like in Medea's case, it's Medea Lily instead. And I know people probably hate that as an idea, but that is the way the developers are actually thinking about things. And I wish that they didn't, right? Like it's not that they can't give like Medea Lily any love or anything like that. That's fine. It's just all been about Medea Lily and none of it actually about like base Medea. So I kind of like agree. I think this is when I say like the developers don't do enough to hit on that like nostalgia, I straight up mean that is part of it, right? Like you are not actually like hinging on the true popularity of the series by like doing stories about the base characters. You don't have to like super change their lore. But like for instance, chat, would you guys like a story about like Medusa's time back in ancient Greece in the Age of the Gods? I'm sure people would. I'm sure people would find that hella interesting. So it's like the fact that it isn't a thing kind of makes me go like, that's like a missed opportunity, right? So I don't know. Like it maybe at some point they will, or maybe this current event will tie into it. But I do believe that like that is an easy thing where it's like, hey, they can explore that and it doesn't have to like change any of the lore for like base Fate Stay Night, right? Like it can just be a like, hey, this is just more info over here if you wanted to know it. Same thing, like it would be really cool to have like an exploration of Emiya's time as a counterforce agent. Right? Like if we actually had something where it's like, oh, I don't know, there's an event and you have to like travel through like various points in time with Emiya putting out fires in effect. Medusa wasn't an LB5. Why? Don't really know, right? It just is what it is. Gorgon wasn't an LB5. Gorgon was in Singularity 7, so it's like there was at least some like backstory there for her. But yeah, to me, that's what they need to be doing a little bit more. They need to kind of occasionally circle back and go like, hey, rather than just telling like new character stories, we need to go back and we need to tell some of the old character stories. And you know what? I'm going to say this. If you want to do one of these, chat, if you want to do one of these instead of like base Nitocris, you do Nitocris Alter, go for it. Because I think everybody thinks that this was really freaking cool. I think everybody looks at this and goes like, that was amazing. Do more of that. And it's true. Like, that's exactly what they should do. They should go back to not only like Fate Stay Night, but like quite literally any of the popular Fate characters, any of the base FGO popular characters, and start trying to tell more stories involving them. And I don't mean peanut gallery, like, oh, I just happened to appear in this event. Yeah, it's nice for people to see their favorite units, but I would love for more stories to be told about some of the more popular characters. I think that's just in general a good idea. If you start throwing out altars, that's the thing, right? I don't know, maybe Medusa altar. That could definitely be a thing. But like, I don't know. I think that's like in general a really good idea for them to do. And it's something that the fans would just love. Obviously, I do think there's like, I think it's like, oh, like maybe you don't like Nitocris, so you're not as interested in the Nitocris centric event. I get that. But that's where it's like, okay, well, you can still include like other units in the event. You can still include the peanut gallery. You can still include the like the cameos and even new characters and units. That's perfectly fine. In fact, I'm going to say that would be a great way to introduce new characters. Like, you want to introduce another Egyptian pharaoh? Well, it's pretty freaking easy to do if you tell a story about Nitocris. You want to introduce another Egyptian god? Well, it's pretty easy to do if you tell a story about Nitocris. Like, all of that is very easily, like, segueable. So, like, to me, I don't really get it. I want a Helena altar or an alter ego version of her in her military career. You just want the military outfit, don't you? I'm on to you. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that's the Medusa buff in a nutshell. Again, it improves her damage, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. It is what it is. Yeah, Bob sent me artwork, so I'm not sure this really is like classified as spoilers, because at least as of the current point in time, nobody really knows who this is my understanding. But this is a character that is like currently in the like JP event, and like there is already artwork of her, chat. Cause like, yeah. Why isn't she the 5-star, sir? I don't know. Maybe there's a banner too. Maybe there's a banner too, chat. Respectfully, yes. Oof. Wait, hold on. Man. Yeah, okay. I had to look up something on Biscione. Chat, I need actual confirmation as to how this is said. Can someone give me the phonetics? Because I've heard multiple things, and I'm tired of butchering names. Bicorn? I don't think it's bicorn. Wait, we have a curse buffing C, but we don't have a poison buffing one. And I want to say there's a poison command code or two. Yeah. Elma? I don't think that's the right name. Oh god, what is it under? Ailment infliction. Okay, NA should have both of these. Oh, I spelled kaleidoscope wrong. I before E except when spelling kaleidoscope. Um... Yeah. Actually, no. Sorry, I'm thinking about craft essences now, chat. Biscione? Biscione? Wait, is it actually like a SCH sound? Like sh? Because I was told that like Italians probably pronounce it like it's a K. Like Biscione. Like I said, like I put my hand like this, chat, and then I'm like Biscione. Like I think like an Italian would. Sent you the phonetics of the name in her site. What? Mm. What, you want me to put this in here?
Biscione.
So it is an SCH. Or SH, I guess. Biscione. Alright, I'm going to do the entire review in my Italian voice. I can't do that, I'm sorry. We're not doing that, chat. That'll get me in trouble. Why, you no make the pizza for me? I can't do it. I literally, this is the problem. Whenever I go to like foreign countries, I always have to be like, don't talk in their accent. Don't do it. Be the like American that they think you are. Don't like chat. I can't wait to go to like Japan and be like, hello, my name is Agent Smith. I am with the CIA. I need to know where the nearest restroom is. Please. Thank you. Like, that's exactly the type of American that Japanese will think that I am. So I don't want to like ever sound Japanese. I don't want to like drop into my like Shogun 2 voice. It's like, my lord, a cutting blow. All right, so I want, it's probably gonna be Sweet Crystal because she's gonna need the charge. And then probably ye old Grail that is black. Okay. Let's get started. But isn't that the American thing to do? Exactly. Yeah, that's what they expect. I need to be that way. I can't like actually drop into their accent and sound like I'm a fluent person in their language. That'll just confuse them. And me. Like I can't actually speak their language, so that'll just be really weird. Okay, let me make sure I'm at the right point. All right. Let's get started, chat. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the new units on JP, particularly Biscione, is how I believe you say her name. If I've butchered that, again, I'm sorry. But Biscione is going to be again, new single target Lancer for us. She's single target, she's quick, and she's a limited unit. So which means, again, obviously, if you're rolling in this event, this will be the best time to acquire her. After that, she's going to kind of just go, absent at that point, and you're going to be at the dev's mercy for whenever they choose to give you another banner. The interesting part considering for rolling her is going to be what's currently ongoing on JP, which is all of the other class banners that they're currently pulling out. That is to say, JP is currently running a banner for every single unit in the game over time for the next couple of months. They've announced that they'll be doing this. So this does mean that rolling for her here is a little bit precarious because a lot of people are going to be considering, hey, but what about this other unit that I really want that I know is going to be coming? So that's going to be a little bit of a concern. Maybe, again, by the time this unit gets to NA, we'll have 2 more years of clairvoyance and we'll be able to tell when her next banner is, and there may be a better time for you to roll for her. But as it stands currently right now, this is the only banner for her, so obviously this is going to be something where you're just going to have to pick and choose whether or not to be patient and wait for another opportunity or to just go ahead and try to cash in. Now, in Biscione's case, I do think she's a very interesting single target Lancer. I think this is going to be one of those deals where a lot of people are probably going to look at her and say, well, but I already have good single target Lancers. And you may be right in that regard. I do think there are certain things to consider when it comes to her, and particularly refund is going to be one of those issues. We're going to talk about that more as we go through the kit and kind of properly diagnose sort of what's going on with Biscione. So taking a look right now, you can see her base stats right here. She's going to start out with almost 11k attack. This is actually a little bit low for a 5-star, so this is already kind of a little bit of a warning sign. She's a little bit thicker on the HP side of things, and there is at least a reason for that. So it is an interesting thing to denote how they've set her up just based off of her raw stats. She does have Earth attribute. She's got a little bit less than average star absorption for a Lancer, which is maybe another concern. But I'm going to say, again, as a quick unit, usually stars are not too big of an issue. So to me, I think the only issue would be if potentially that those stars do get stolen from you by virtue of like them going to supports or something like that. It is something to be wary of, that this may be a concern. I do think we've started to see the devs kind of dipping star absorption in general overall across some of the units, where I've noticed them kind of coming down a little bit off of what the average was for the class. But I think this is kind of the lowest that I've seen in relation to a actual true class average in a while. So this is definitely a concern, but nothing too insanely bad. Her star generation here is perfectly normal, I'm going to say, and nothing too much to write home about. Her NP charge attack here is 0.7, and this is definitely a little bit higher than average, but we are actually pretty used to seeing this with certain quick units because, again, quick doesn't necessarily have the same like NP generation percentiles that, like, say, arts does. Arts has just a 300% modifier on it. Quick has a base 100% modifier, so it is something to consider that, yes, like, having a higher NP charge attack rate is something that you actually do want on a quick unit. Her NP charge defense here is the 4% standard for Lancers. Her death rate is a little bit under average, but pretty much right on it at 24% there. And her alignment is chaotic balanced. Again, balanced is a relatively rare alignment and one that is not easy to gain like buffs from. So if you have units that maybe try to deal extra damage to specific alignments or units that try to buff specific alignments, balanced is usually not one of those in those lists. She is female gendered. She has animal characteristic, servant trait, and then demonic beast, servant, dragon, humanoid, non-hominidae servant, serpent, normal servant, seven night servant, and weak to intima elish. So quite a bit here, especially the serpent one, which is, I believe, a newer one. And again, you can see we do have the standard double buster, double quick deck that we're used to seeing now with quick units in the advent of the summer Scotty era for them, as this does open up, you know, at basically like 80% of their deck if you're just using the traditional Scotty supports for her. You can see here hit counts, at least on the quick and arts cards, are solid. The buster card is one below average. Not really a huge concern because, again, buster, like, really the only thing that would really come into play for this would be like star generation potentially, but it's honestly not. If you're going to have low hit counts, it's probably better to have it on the buster card out of anything. And then the extra attack is just the standard 5-hit extra. So looking at her active skills now, you can see she increases her own debuff success rate for 3 turns of 30% and increases her own critical damage for 3 turns of 50%. So this is going to be in addition to any crit buffs that, like, the Scotties that are maybe going to be buffing her for you would be providing. And then she's also going to inflict poison for 5 turns to all enemies, as well as the toxic poison that's just going to increase poison damage output by 100%. And then on top of that, it's going to reduce all of the enemies' healing received by 50% for 1 turn. I'm going to say, like, low key, this 50% heal reduction could actually be really good in certain challenge scenarios where the boss actually does have just like annoying self-healing constantly ticking. This can really help put a cap on that and limit it so that it's a lot easier to kind of mop them up maybe after the fact if you've, you know, already thrown out your NP and your carding and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh, okay, the boss maybe lives or it had a break bar and it starts to heal. Well, this is going to allow it to at least cut down on that sort of thing and allow you to kind of more easily counter it. Again, the poison damage here being at 2,000, essentially at max rank here, means that if it gets doubled, it'll go all the way up to 4,000. So it is another interesting aspect here to kind of see that she's already just right off the rip looking like a unit that will actually have really good poison damage. Her second skill here increases her quick and buster performance for 3 turns by 30% each. And again, it's going to grant self debuff on attack buff for 3 turns. And basically, every single time she attacks, she will inflict poison with 500 damage for 5 turns to the enemy if she attacks them with quick cards. Or if she attacks them with buster cards, she will gain 5 critical stars. So again, she can keep stacking poison debuffs on the enemies. And this is definitely something that you guys should denote, because again, she only does have the 2 quick cards there, which is something to kind of pay attention to. Again, I will say it just says when attacking with quick cards, so this should count for the NP as well, because it does not specify normal attacking. So in that regard, again, your NP, if you do manage to sit there and like loop over the same enemy over and over again, should count towards this and should apply the extra poison stack there. and that'll be something to make note of for later. Taking a look at the third skill, you guys can see she grants herself invincibility for 2 attacks, 3 turns, and that is just going to be a just in general nice survivability skill, which combined with her pretty thick HP means that she'll be a pretty tough unit to bring down. She's going to charge her own NP gauge here by an additional 30% and increase her own NP gen rate by 20% for 3 turns. I do think that it's nice that she has these. I would have maybe preferred to have seen either much higher NP gen rate or just frankly probably the easier solution would have been to give her a lot higher charge. I do think the developers may be worried about the balance of the overall single target lancers in regards to this, as again, Biscione is sort of a late arrival compared to the rest of the pack, and that had been a relatively settled area for some time now. So they're maybe a little bit worried about stirring the pot too much. But I do think that it would have been to her benefit to have given her a little bit more charge there. Take a look at her passive skills. You can see she gets Magic Resistance A for some additional debuff resistance, Presence Concealment B for some critical star generation, Independent Action C for more crit damage, and then a Dragon kind one that's going to give her Buster Up of 8%, as well as just a nice damage cut that'll permanently be in effect. Take a look at her appends. Her third append is Anti-Lancer attack damage aptitude. This is really not a good one for her in the grand scheme of things, because again, it's just a neutral target. Don't really recommend it. To me, that one's your odd man out. Your second append for mana loading is probably likely to be the far more useful one, if really any of these get used. Again, the fourth skill for critical attack finesse can be nice. The fifth skill for skill reloading can be nice if you're in at least a sort of medium length challenge scenario, and the first skill for extra attack finesse may be actually just where one of your best banes for your buck are, besides the mana loading. So at that point, I don't think any of her pens are super important. I would go with the mana loading first more than anything, but it's ultimately up to you and how you choose to use her. So with regards to her Noble Phantasm, she has a single target 5-hit quick NP. It's going to inflict toxic poison for 5 turns to one enemy activating first, that again increases poison damage by 100%. This is in addition to the one that she already gets off of her skill, so you could be looking at potentially 300% poison damage, which is definitely a nice thing. She's going to deal damage to them, and then from there, deal super effective damage based off the number of poison stacks at a clip of 15% per stack. So that is definitely a nice thing. This will scale very well with that, but keep in mind that for her to be able to apply more poison, there is a little bit of RNG with you actually getting the quick cards, and again, that is going to be something to be concerned about since she only has the 2 of them. This is maybe one of those few scenarios where it would have said, hey, actually giving her triple quick deck may have actually been to her benefit. But I think that would have caused problems with overall card performance and being able to card your way back to an NP. So as we look at this, again, it is an interesting thing to see, and she will get quite a bit of damage from it. It's also going to just be a guaranteed drain against the single enemy by 1. So this is another interesting deal that if you keep looping over an enemy with her, you could potentially stall things out. The bigger issue is going to be actually performing that loop. Now, as we look at the overcharge effect here, you can see it's going to inflict poison for 5 turns to one enemy before damage goes out. And would you look at that? Again, the poison damage that gets applied is based off of the overcharge. So for instance, in a weird scenario, let's say you did get to 500%, you could have 5,000 poison damage there, which would literally be modified up to the point with the NP and the first skill of basically being 15,000 poison damage on its own, not including any other potential poison stacks, so that it is pretty just disgustingly good if you can manage to do something like that. But I am going to say this is maybe one of the concerns with her, is to me, she strikes me as more of a unit that should be used over time, over durations. She's not really supposed to be necessarily your looper type unit. She's not necessarily supposed to be someone that you're going to use prolifically in farming or something. To me, she seems more like a little bit more of a challenge unit and has the kit to such a degree for that. So I don't think that Biscione is a bad unit, but I do think she does have some concerns for just general purpose use and things that you need to be aware of if you are going to try to get the most out of her. With regards to that, we can at least try to find ways to get more stacks of poison damage. And one of that is going to be basically by using command codes. So at the current moment on an A, you guys should have both of these command codes. Each one of them will inflict poison to the enemy whenever you do end up putting them on one of your cards. One of them does have a demerit of dealing 100 damage to you. But otherwise, yeah, I think these can both be useful to you. It could be a way to maybe keep kind of stacking poison, particularly if you do something like a solo with her or something like that. And I do think that you could get quite a bit of potential poison damage out of Biscione if you do manage to run something like this. As far as craft essences go, there's not really a poison craft essence too much that's going to help with that. So just general purpose craft essences that could be useful to her. If you are trying to actually 3-turn with Biscione, Kaleidoscope is probably going to be your best friend at that point. It doesn't have to be MLB if you have the mana loading maxed out, but again, this is something that obviously a lot of people would prefer not to have to use, just due to the fact that Kaleidoscope really only has the all attack in there, and that's only going to be much of a thing if you have MLB'd it. So this is a concern because it does mean that we will be having to start from basically 100% starting charge in order to 3-turn with her, which means we don't get the benefit of some sort of like really nice craft essence that can also further boost our damage. If we're looking for potential options for something that can provide invuln peer, Sweet Crystal's probably going to be one of your better friends. This one's purchasable through the Rare Prism shop. It is all attack scaling, has 50% charge at MLB, and does give Ignore Invincibility. Just be careful, it's got quite a hefty price tag on it at the cost of 5 Rare Prisms per copy for a total of 25 Rare Prisms for MLB. But again, it is a very good C to grab for pretty much all of your units, just depending on the situations that you run into. And then if you do manage to just be trying to like one-shot something like Black Grail can obviously be your friend. This could be further boosted by Oberon. Again, if you do manage to have it in MLB, it is a 2400 attack scaling C, one of the highest in the game in that regard. And really, Black Grail still just is the best damage multiplying craft essence in the entire game. So it is a really, really nice C to have on hand, and it will be something that'll be useful to her. So now, taking a look at Biscione's actual sort of looping scenarios and damage output, let's first start by looking at her damage with just self buffs only. And you guys can see here, this is basically going to be, again, her damage in a neutral environment, not against an effective enemy. It is going to be her just under her own power, no mystic codes, no external buffs from another character or anything like that. Just her own skills. That's it against a neutral enemy. So you can see at NP1 there, basically have about 36k. Not too great of a number there for an SSR, but it is what it is. And you do have also the potential to get up to like 3 poison stacks relatively easily. And then again, we also did the scaling here for like, hey, what if you got all the way to 10? So you can see poison is really going to be the major determinant for how you do get damage out of Biscione. I do think that's going to be something that's really going to matter. So if you're going up against a unit that has really high debuff resistance, or again, a unit that has debuff immunity or poison immunity in some way, be very careful. Running her will not result in some very good numbers. But if you can manage to stack poison on the enemy, and you can, again, maybe get that sort of going and rolling on the enemy, not only will you be getting extra damage basically from those poison stacks just constantly ticking, but again, you're going to get really good, super effective damage out of the NP that is going to make the scaling quite a bit. And that was just the NP1 numbers. The more you come down here, even NP2, you guys can see the numbers get pretty darn respectable. And then by NP5, you start getting some pretty monstrous unbuffed numbers there. So as we start to look at the proper charge scenarios for Biscione, as we mentioned, trying to 3-turn with her is pretty abysmal. And the reason why is because, again, her actual refund with double Summer Scotty against a neutral enemy is essentially she only has a 5-hit NP. So at even 1 out of 5 overkill hits, you were looking at 12% refund with double Summer Scotty. That is not particularly good numbers. And so you can see this kind of reflected down here as, again, you're not really going to have any capability even to get to 20% with double Summer Scotty, because the maximum potential would be 16.38% at 5 out of 5 overkill hits, which is highly unlikely that you hit. So again, expect that 10% of refund, but don't expect much more. In fact, even if you get 0 out of 5, you will still get the 10%. So she's not a unit that's going to do a whole lot with actual NP gain. She doesn't have the hit count. She doesn't have the base NP gain really to do that. A lot of it is just going to come from brute force charging her. And that is exactly what you see right here as we start her out basically with a, again, K-scope and then a maxed out append, essentially to get her to 100% for turn 1. At that point, fire off the NP. She'll only refund about 10% there off that first NP. We'll be using double Summer Scotty there. And then from there, you can already go ahead and rotate one of the Scotties out and bring Oberon in. And you could basically use Biscione's 30% charge, one of the Summer Scotty before you rotate her out's 50% charge, and then basically Oberon's 20%, and that should be 110%, effectively meaning that the 10% refund was utterly wasted at that point just due to the way the charge scenario works. And again, she's not going to be able to get any benefit out of it, but you will be able to NP again. So you're going to fire off the NP a second time. She'll refund about 12%, and you're just going to use the remaining 50% charge skills from the one Summer Scotty that you haven't used and Oberon. And that is going to be how you're going to complete your 3-turn loop. It is what it is. Again, that'll be 112%, so the 12% there will be wasted. You are literally just going to be brute forcing Biscione if you do try to 3-turn a singular enemy with her. So that is something to pay attention to, but that is pretty much the only charge scenario that's going to work for her, unless you are trying to maybe mix her into some sort of multiple damage dealer setup where you are maybe rotating between 2 supports, but you have her and someone else. That can be something where it's like maybe the other person can take a wave or 2 for you. So again, there are different considerations there, but I am going to say this is just naturally going to be a limitation that Biscione has. Her refund will not be that good. So now, as we look at basically her actual damage numbers. So this is going to be her with the Summer Scotties, with an Oberon, with a K-scope in play, and you can see the NP numbers here, especially base without poison, not very good. It is what it is. These are still neutral numbers, but we've definitely seen a lot higher amongst other Lancers. But the second we start getting poison in play, would you look at that? We start really scaling in terms of damage. At 2 stacks, you're already at 153. At 3, 171. At 4, 188. At 5, 206. So again, this really will begin to scale quite nicely. And then essentially, you can see NP2 here is basically going to really just modify things quite nicely, and she will start getting into much better numbers. Now, as we start to look at potential one-shot damage, so this is going to be using Black Grail instead of something like K-Scope. There, the numbers do get a little bit better, particularly if you have poison. Remember, Oberon really going to have a nice interaction with Black Grail, so having super effective modifiers on top of that is going to scale multiplicatively with everything else, and that is why you start seeing such a force multiplier as she starts to get more and more stacks of poison. So again, I can't emphasize that enough. The more stacks you get, the more she and her damage will actually improve, and you will get quite a bunch of damage out of her. As of right now, there are only the 3 poison command codes in the game, so it's just something to be aware of. You're not going to be able to have like infinite poison stacks on her, but again, I do think you can use her quite effectively with that regard. But let's go ahead and let's compare her basically in both sort of 3-turn scenarios and one-shot scenarios to some of her other counterparts. And the first one that's going to come to mind is going to be Shisho. Again, like original Shisho from the game, is a single target quick lancer that has had some upgrades at this point. And you can see base Shisho, not altogether too much different, but there is about 30k difference there. And Shisho does have basically some really strong power mods in there that really just help the damage scale quite nicely, even at like NP1 and NP2 here. So you do have quite a bit of damage, and that's just wave 1 damage. You can see by wave 3, the spikes do get quite a bit nicer. And then as we start to look down here at a Black Grail scenario, because again, Shisho is also a K-scope in that scenario, as you start to look at Black Grail for one-shot damage, there you go. You can see just base value Shisho at 736 to Biscione's 500k basically. So essentially, Biscione with 3 poison stacks is going to be very equivalent at that point to Shisho just without any of her power mod in play. Taking a look at Brynn. Brynn's going to be another common one. She's single target buster. She at least can work from a 50% starting point, so that does help her out a little bit. But again, you can see the sort of base damage there altogether not that good. It's actually lower than Biscione's. So if you're worried about Biscione's numbers, keep in mind there are other units out there that do have a little bit of struggle. That being said, there is Man Niche due to Koyanskaya of Light, as well as Brynhilder's Beloved, and the potential to double it up for both. Her NP2 numbers even stronger. And again, as you start looking at the wave 3 numbers, you start getting even better there. So naturally, there's just going to be quite a bit of scalability in even any of these. At one-shot damage, basically at NP1 outside of her niches, she's actually fairly comparable. But the second we start getting into the loved one niche, boom, that is a heck of a lot more damage. And again, that is something that really, if you're going to be taking Brynn to a node, usually it's because they are a Brynhilder Beloved enemy. So that's going to be, again, something that you can just pretty much expect most of the time. Enkidu has long been another really strong Lancer. Basically, Enkidu lacks niches most of the time. But again, you can see Koyanskaya will provide, obviously, the Man niche. And then Threat to Humanity, while rare, is super useful to have in certain scenarios. Enkidu can work from a 60% starting charge standpoint. That's why we had the Summer Anniversary C here, just for a little bit of boost. And you can see, again, quite a bit of damage getting pumped there, but sort of wave 1 damage, pretty much not too good. So, again, Biscione's numbers here, not really that crazy when you start to look at that in terms of like her being low potentially. There are other Lancers that will out damage her, but hers are just not that bad in the grand scheme of things, at least compared to some of the other Lancers. I do think some of the other Lancers could use some attention in that regard, but it is what it is. Realistically, one of the bigger differences is going to come from right here. The one-shot damage base value with Enkidu will just flat out be higher, and that's again due to Enkidu just having very, very strong multipliers and already having an NP interlude that Biscione does not have. Compared to Melusin as well, we also have her in here. If I can get the slide to open, there we go. For again, sort of a single target arts variant here. As you can see, this double Castoria and Oberon and Sign of a Smiling Face. Now, again, Biscione is obviously a single target Lancer. Melusin is a little bit more of a hybrid, and realistically, her single target form is not known to be her real damage dealing form. It's more or less her looping form as she keeps stacking NP gain up. But you can see essentially here, not really any niche to come into play, but you can actually still get pretty decent numbers. And again, for one-shot damage, we're actually pretty similar there. So in that regard, Biscione is going to sort of live and die again by how she kind of functions with regards to her poison niche. I think that is really going to be the sort of pivotal thing in that regard. Even if we use Melusin in sort of her Lancer AoE form, we can get similar, but albeit a little bit worse numbers in comparison than if we sold out for single target. So to me, I don't think like comparing the AoE form for Mel is necessary, but I do think this is an interesting thing. I think Biscione is this unit that's going to come out here and basically be, you know, in the middle to latter half of the pack of Lancers. I think that does make her a unit that is pretty much going to be in the eye of the beholder. If you really like her for challenge, if you really like her for that poison super effective modifier, feel free to go get her. If you just like the character, same deal. But ultimately, she is not a unit that you have to have, and I would probably actually advise you guys to potentially not even roll if you feel like kind of you just want to hold on to your courts with all the banners coming out. That is a thing. Again, I can't say whether or not you should or shouldn't. I'm just going to tell you basically how I would think about this from a gameplay perspective. If you already have a very good single target Lancer, you probably don't need Biscione. But again, it's up to you to determine if this is a character that you really like or want. I don't think she's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that she probably is going to become a little bit underwhelming on the damage and refund side of things, unless you are really playing to her strength, which is the poison super effective modifier. So again, I do think that's something where as well her damage is going to be a little bit lower because of all the poison damage that she'll be pumping out. And that is something a little bit more intangible and something to think about with her. That if you want to go the distance, if you want to go longer than maybe like some sort of 3-turn scenario or something like that, that's probably where Biscione will shine compared to some of the other sort of one and done single target lancers. I do think that's probably one of her strengths and something to maybe think about. So let me know what you guys think about Biscione. After all, again, she is kind of coming a little bit out of left field, but you know, which Ascension is your favorite as of right now? We actually don't know the third one. It is currently hidden, but I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts, maybe even after the fact. And again, will you be rolling for her, or do you have your eyes set on somebody else? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts as to the banner situation on JP. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys for the next video. And again, have a good one. Okay. Yeah, I think like all seriousness aside, like I don't think she's a bad unit, but I do think like what it reminds me of is it reminds me a lot of Shisho. It reminds me of a unit that can do good damage if the circumstances are correct, but ultimately is just really going to be held back by card performance and general like bad refund. I think it's really weird. I feel like they kind of tried to keep her in line with Shisho in that regard. That's why she's only got 30% charge as opposed to like 50% or something like that. I think they feared what that would do to Shisho, but I'm gonna say this again, I actually think that Shisho could still use another upgrade. Like, I don't think that's absurd to say. So at the end of the day, I think that's really kind of where I'm a little bit more like unimpressed by Biscione in that regard. And it's sad because I actually kind of like do like the design of the character. I think she's really cute, and I like that again, as people have said it before, like Dragon Maid-esque style. So it is something where it's like, man, I kind of hope that they have a little bit more in store for this character in the future, but we'll just see. Maybe they will release a really good Poison Seed. Yeah, that could be a thing as well, right? She's one where I got a collection copy and stopped. Yeah, I don't think she's bad if you use her right, but I think in order to use her right, you will have to jump through a little bit of hoops and hurdles, as opposed to like, man, how do you use Enkidu right? And it's just like, you just go burr, right? So like, I think that is something to consider about her, is that like, she's not a like top tier performer. She's not a unit that you have to have. Would she work well with Mushroom Assassin? That may be some food for thought. Like having other units that can provide poison would definitely benefit her. I think the issue at play there is like, you know, Mushroom Assassin's also another single target. So what do you do at that point, right? Like what is the node that you're taking on? And maybe there is like some wonky ass node where it's like, oh, it's a rider, and then it's like an archer and an archer. It's like, oh, well, that's kind of perfect. But yeah, there'd definitely be some interesting stuff. Woo indeed. Which, to be fair, is the correct way to say most units should be. Less must have and the game best. Yeah, and like, I'm okay with that. Like I've said, designing units to be stronger in niche is a thing. I will say though that like, when it comes to Biscione and her scaling is strong for her poison. But the idea of you getting like a ton of poison stacks is somewhat precluded by, you have to have sat there carding against her quite a bit and gotten like all of her cards. So I do think that's something to keep in mind, that it's like there is a like theoretical maximum. I mean, like, besides the fact that the thing is already just capped at 10 stacks being the maximum, but it's like I realistically think like like somewhere in the like, you know, probably like 2 to 4, maybe even 5 range. But I think somewhere in the 2 to 4 range, probably what you should expect, like the majority of the time. So it's like at that point, is her scaling enough at those stacks to outpace some of the other Lancer options? Yes. Does it outpace all of the other Lancer options? No. And that's kind of where some of the issue lies with her. I think like you need a little bit of setup, you need a little bit of preparation, and that's going to cause issues. Also, Avalon, what was the third poison command code? Oh, Great Witch's Porridge. Wait, how did I not see that? I literally talked about the top one and the bottom one, but not the middle one. Whatever. I'm blind. it be what it be. All right, now we get to talk about the 4-star, and just real quick. So correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but she is the first unit that adds Serpent Niche. Like we've had Dragon, but Serpent Niche is new. Serpent is new? Okay, good. Serpiente. I'm just looking to see if any of these units stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, I don't really agree with this one. Nor do I really agree with this one. Yeah, the rest I'm fine with. These two are the ones that like they shouldn't be servant classified, they should be dragon classified. And there's nothing wrong with that in regards to Kurohime because she does both, right? So it's like I don't understand why they classified them under serpent really in that regard. Melt is a Leviathan. Okay, if you want to come at it from the idea of it being a sea serpent, sure. However, quite literally the way this is depicted in FGO is as a fucking penguin. So, I'm not sure how much I agree with that one. It already was a stretch to call it a dragon. So, I'm just like, I don't know. Still a Leviathan, I guess. Yeah. Kitty, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Didn't know penguin was a snake. I guess, right? Like. Oh, wait, I closed the serpent list. Crap. I need to keep that open. Penguin equals snake, of course, right? Avalon, do you know, will royal icing work in place of sign? Yeah, okay. Jack, can you tell me of any other taunt skill in the entire game that doesn't just taunt everyone? Yang used to have that. But can you think of literally anyone else? Yeah, like I don't think there is one. Sakabihime Archer. It's a different way that works, and technically that still taunts everyone. It's just on your team. Yeah, Sakabihime taunts everyone on your team instead of taunting the enemy, which is really weird. But I cannot think of any other like conditional taunt in the game. This first form kind of whack. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about Kurohime now. Actually, is she perm? That she is. Okay. Yeah, let me just confirm that real fast. Yeah. Kind of nutty. Okay. Let's start. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Kurohime. Now, Kurohime is our newest unit out on JP. She's a 4-star single target Art Saber, and she's actually a permanent unit. So, as of the end of her banner alongside Biscione, the single target 5-star Lancer, she will go into the permanent pool, which means that she can spook you potentially. And she's definitely a very interesting saber in a lot of ways. Not just because people like her ascension forms and basically the way that she looks, but also just in general for what she brings to the game via her kit and essentially how she functions. So let's go ahead and let's dive right in and take a look at her sort of raw stats to begin with. She's almost at 10k attack, which is actually really good for a 4-star. Again, this is definitely a strong showing, and it does mean that for a 4-star, her cards will work pretty well, even regardless of whether or not you have the steroids active. Her HP stat, though, is going to be her concern, as it's only 11.8k, not quite even 12k there, so that is going to be a little bit more on the concerning side for her stayability. She is Earth attribute. Her star absorption is 99, which is again going to be the pretty close on the base star absorption for her class. 10% star generation, again, not too concerning given the fact that she's an arts unit, and 0.7 NP charge attack rate here, which is also quite interesting. In fact, I actually think that's incorrect. I believe that number is 0.62, so I think this is a goof on fandom right there. But quite literally, it's a little bit lower. I think they copied this over from Biscione when they were doing it. Her NP charge defense here is 4%, and her death rate is 21%. So this is, again, going to be like death rate wise, close to the average, but a little bit under it. So definitely a good thing to not be above average on death rate. Her alignment is lawful good, which is definitely another thing, given the fact that, what her name is and what it implies. And essentially here we can see that she's female gender. She has the hominidae trait for servants, and then again a humanoid trait, a riding trait, a normal servant trait, a 7-night servant, and weak to inima elish. Something that is definitely denoted here, or denotable, is the fact that she is not a serpent or a dragon. Hold on, is fandom just totally fucking wrong? I need to double check this. She's not. Okay. It's actually surprising. She's not a dragon. No. I'm more surprised because she has like serpents in her animation. So that's like kind of wild to me that she doesn't have the serpent trait. All right, we're gonna restart that because that was like the second I see even one error with fandom, I start questioning everything. So let me real quick go and double check everything on the stat side. All right, that is correct. That is correct. Where's my NP charge defense? Okay. Yeah, this is not correct. That's Bishone's number. Fucking fandom. I get it. Like, I actually do understand how this happens because they probably just literally go like, ha ha ha, copy, paste, and then like they just change certain aspects, but they just didn't notice that this is a thing. Like, it's not too big of a concern, but this is like quite literally, it makes me not want to use fandom. So now, you know what? Let's do our due diligence. That's 2 errors. So It's wild because they went in here and they actually wrote in the proper notes. So like, they clearly put in the effort. I'm not gonna say this is like phoned in. They just, I guess, on the stats side missed that. Okay. Yeah, everything else is right. Well, let's check the passives. Yeah, okay. Okay. Like I said, what's the other error? It's these two right here. Both of those are copy pasted from Biscione. I fixed the MP gain error just now. Oh shit, did you work off fandom? Oh, let me see. Yeah, I only caught this because I was just looking at this before stream. That's how I like, the second I saw that, I was like, hold on. I was like, that's not a thing. Avalon, does that change this? Refresh once more. Wait, do you now have edit rights on fandom? No, I worked with Atlas values. Okay. This post is open for it. Well, good. Good. Fandom should do that more. Because, like I said, it's been my understanding that in the past, fandom has not made these posts open, so you could not edit them. But thank you for adjusting that. That'll actually fix that. Because I was about to have to ream fandom out. Fandom has a bunch locked, yeah. Like, and I get it. Like once it's like, oh, okay, like everything on here is correct. Sure, lock it. Like get someone to double check your work, yada yada yada. But like, ridiculous. Okay, now let's re-begin. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Kurohime. She's going to be our newest 4-star unit added to the game. She's actually going to be a permanent unit, even though she's coming in on the banner alongside Biscione for the JP event currently active right now, the New Year's Serpent event, if you will. And Kurohime is going to be, as we mentioned, permanent. She's a single target arts saber, but I think a lot of people are going to like her not just based off of her design, but also for the uniqueness of her kit and the things that she can actually do. So in that regard, I think she is an interesting unit that several people will want to have, and I think it's worth kind of going a little bit more in depth on her. So let's go ahead and dive right in. As you guys can see, her raw attack stats actually pretty high here at about 9.7k, knocking on the door to 10k. This is definitely a good thing. We like to see this with our 4 stars. So again, definitely a nice thing for card performance, at least in raw power there. HP stats going to be a little bit more on the anemic side, something to definitely watch out for. Again, we would maybe like to see that a little bit more robust. Her Earth attribute is, well, it's her Earth attribute. She's going to have 99 star absorption, which is, again, just ever so slightly less than her class average. Her star generation of 10% is perfectly fine. Her NP charge attack rate here is only 0.62, which is still a little bit higher than average, but it's nothing truly amazing. That being said, she is an arts unit, so again, that 300% modifier for it being arts is definitely going to be in her favor. And you can see her NP charge defense here is also the standard 3%. Her death rate is only 21%, so a little bit under average, and her alignment is lawful good. Gender-wise, she is female, and her basic traits include Hominid Servant, Humanoid, Riding, Normal Servant, Seven Knights Servant, and Weak to Intima Elish. The big thing to denote about her traits is that it does not include Serpent or Dragon trait, and that will be important for later on as we go through the kit. Taking a look at her deck, she has a double arts, double quick deck, which is definitely interesting. The hit counts here are all pretty solid, except for, again, the Buster card, but you only have one of it, and Buster's not really one that cares too much about hit counts. So at the end of the day, this is perfectly fine. Your extra attack is also average. Taking a look at her active skills here, you can see her first skill grants herself evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns, which is definitely going to help out with, again, the rather anemic HP stats. Going to give her a little bit more hard survivability. It's going to also then gain critical stars every turn for 3 turns by up to 15, so definitely strong there, as especially she will be an arts unit, which typically has a little bit more of an issue generating stars, so definitely nice that she can manufacture them. She's also going to increase her own NP damage for 3 turns by up to 30%, and then further increases the NP damage of Serpent or Dragon allies except herself for 3 turns by an additional 30%. And this is going to be probably one of the most unique uses for Kurohime. Again, just looking at this at base value, they did kind of say except herself, even though she doesn't have that. I think that's to preclude any sort of change further down the line where there's maybe a unit that can make somebody Serpent or Dragon trait. So again, this will stop her from being the beneficiary of her own double up. However, this does mean that, again, she can improve the rest of the party's NP damage by 30% if they are a Serpent or a Dragon traded unit. And this could be definitely nice because the way I choose to think about this is almost in a little bit of a way, kind of like Lancer Ellie with her sadistic charisma that can buff basically female allies for an additional amount of charisma. You have this working with Serpent or Dragon allies for an additional amount of NP damage. And remember, this additional amount can also be something that could be doubled up with the likes of Oberon. So it is another interesting thing. Again, all of this on a 6-turn cooldown. Taking a look at the second skill here, she can increase her own quick and arts performance for 3 turns by 30%, as well as her critical damage for 3 turns by another 30%, and the critical damage of Serpent or Dragon allies, except for herself, for 30%. So another interesting aspect there. She's sort of turning into this Serpent or Dragon ally support, as you can see. Her third skill has a 500% chance to draw attention of all Serpent or Dragon enemies to herself for 3 turns, grants debuff immunity for 1 time 3 turns, and recovers her own HP every turn for 3 turns by up to 1,000 health. It's also going to charge her own NP gauge by 30%, so you probably will wish to lower this skill. And then another interesting thing here is going to be that it charges the NP gauge by 10% for her, in addition to the 30%, based off of the number of Serpent or Dragon units on the field. The interesting thing to denote about this is that this does mean any ally or any enemy that has said trait. So this can be used to your advantage if you're going up against enemies that are Serpent or Dragon. And that does appear to be the intended use given how they did the taunt. I am going to say I actually do not like this taunt. I believe that a taunt should be a taunt, and that kind of has been held true in FGO, with one pretty glaring exception being Yang. Yang had a male-only taunt originally in her kit, and that was buffed away because, again, the general consensus was that it was annoyingly bad in the fact that many enemies in the game were not considered to be male, and so that had numerous drawbacks to the fact that it was exclusive to that rather than just being a catch-all taunt. I think the same treatment will eventually happen with this skill because this is a stupid qualifier that pretty much doesn't need to be here. When you would actually want the taunt if you're not facing a Serpent or a Dragon enemy, it's just kind of going to be an annoying thing. That being said, it is pretty much the entire gimmick of her kit, so using her against Serpent or Dragon enemies, maybe this won't be as bad in the end. I'm just going to say at the end of the day, I would prefer if this just didn't have any qualification on it whatsoever and it just was a pure taunt for 3 turns. But again, it is another interesting thing here, and getting the ability to charge your gauge by 10% based off of every single one of these means that if you even have, say, a dragon enemy that you're facing and a dragon ally on your team, boom, instead of getting 30%, she now gets 50% charge. This is something that you can kind of use to your benefit and something that you can really take advantage of. So, with that in mind, let's take a look at who the serpent and dragon units are. So taking a look at serpent here, you guys can see it is a new niche specifically for Kurohime. They have put in all the usual suspects that you would imagine when you think of a serpent, including units that just maybe have a serpent like Cleo that has a mechanical serpent, or again Sakamoto Ryoma that literally has Oryu with him. So again, any sort of qualification of serpent works here. And so at the end of the day, this is an interesting thing. You can also see several of the enemies that would qualify for serpent, including things like the Chimera, where just the tail is a serpent. So there are some really interesting things that you may be able to use this for in order to gain additional charge for Kurohime. Now, taking a look at the dragon category, and obviously there are going to be the usual suspects here as well, but there is another interestingly important one that I wish to denote to you guys, and that is actually right here. As you guys can see, Oberon actually has the dragon trait, and that's going to work out very well to her advantage, because this means that not only will she be able to benefit from Oberon buffing her, but also she will potentially be able to buff Oberon as well in turn. This does make them a somewhat synergistic pairing at that point, and it does mean that Oberon may be a solution to using alongside of her in some sort of node where maybe she kills 1 or 2 waves herself if they're single target enemies, and then maybe Oberon takes an AoE wave for you. So this is another interesting way to go about this, and I do find this again to be a rather intelligent design. This is a interesting thing. There's not like a ton of supports or anything in either of these two categories, but the fact that Oberon is in there does really work to her advantage. Taking a look at her passive skills now here, you can see her magic resistance, just again giving her 17.5% extra debuff resistance, and then Riding C to improve the performance of those 2 quick cards by an additional 6%. When talking about her appends, her third append is Anti-Rider. I'm going to say again, she is a Saber. This one's not really going to be that big of a deal to her. I don't really recommend going after this append. It, to me, is not that big of a deal. The second skill with the mana loading is probably going to be your best bet with her. And then again, maybe things like the extra attack performance, the crit damage up, or again, the skill reloading if you maybe are using her a little bit more in a challenge scenario or something where you think you'll actually have the time to get back to any of her skills quickly. This could be potentially useful. But again, I'm going to say mana loading, probably the best one that stands out amongst those. With regards to her Noble Phantasm, it is a single target 5-hit Arts NP. It's going to ignore evasion for 1 turn and then ignore defense for 1 turn, both of them activating first. So again, unless the target is basically invuln or solemn defense, she is going to carve them up. It's going to deal damage to 1 enemy then, and then further reduce their arts resistance after the damage goes out by an additional 20% for 3 turns. Her overcharge effect will deal extra damage against serpent or dragon enemies. And again, this could have some synergy here with the Rider third append, but again, I'm going to tell you, probably not really worth it, especially given the fact that this is a permanent 4-star, which means you'll only be getting 30 coins per copy instead of 50 like you would with a story locked or limited 4-star. So getting coins for her may not be the easiest thing in the world, and as a result, I don't necessarily recommend going after that append. But still, this is a pretty decent niche, and you can see here she is going to have a super effective modifier against them of 150% that will scale up with overcharge. So again, a rather interesting and nice kit all around. In that regard, I do think the fact that she's permanent is actually almost a boon to her, as she is going to be a pretty solid permanent unit. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's talk about craft essences and things that you may want to use alongside of her. Sign of a Smiling Face is actually going to be a really good one, and the reason for this is, again, it's all attack scaling, but it's also going to increase NP damage, NP gen, and arts up, things that will all really help her, especially if you're trying to start Kurohime from 0. Something like Sweet Crystal can also potentially be used if you really do crave that invincibility ignore, but again, you don't necessarily have to choose this one. There are others, but this one at least has the starting charge with it, something that can kind of alleviate a 3-turn if you're trying to do it. And then Ocean Flyer is just going to be a standard all-around good 50% CE. But again, this one can be up to you. You can use numerous other options for a good 50% CE. The idea is you want something that's all attack scaling and something that potentially would enhance Kurohime's damage or refund scenario. And then, again, for one-shot damage where you just know you need as much damage as possible, Black Grail is going to be your go-to, or any of its lesser variants like Heaven's Feel or Angel Song, you name it. You can always try to go after one of them, but Black Grail is going to be the strongest amongst all of them. So now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at Kurohime's damage numbers. And you can see here again, this is a 4-star unit, so obviously something like 37k here, not totally unexpected. But against the anti-dragon and Lamia, aka Serpent niche, you can see we actually have pretty good solid damage here. I do kind of like these numbers, all things considered, especially on a 4-star. So as we start looking at a list, let's say you get really lucky, you get spooked by her, you just roll on one of her devoted banners and you get an P5. There you go, you actually have pretty solid numbers out of a 4-star there, definitely rivaling the likes of a 5-star. Remember, these are neutral numbers, so they're not necessarily going to be actually like class effective numbers. So in that regard, this is just Kurohime under her own power, so don't expect too much out of this. Talking about her actual refund here, you guys can see these are the 3 refund scenarios that we set up. This is just using her as the single devoted damage dealer. Obviously, things like a multiple damage dealer comp do exist, but it's up to you to determine whether or not that's something that can work well in certain scenarios for you and when to apply it. Taking a look at Kurohime here, this is a 1-1x neutral node for pretty much all of these that we'll be going up against. It's going to be her alongside Double Castoria and Oberon. And you can see here we'll start her out with any 50% CE. We don't need her append unlocked for anything like that. And we basically just go ahead and put 50% from one of the Castorias on her. Again, you could maybe do like the append unlocked and then potentially like both Castorias 20% skills. It's also another way to go about it. But either way, you get up to 100%. This will refund her 30% basically on the back end. Use all the other Castorias 50% in terms of charge and skills there. And then that's going to bring her up to a solid 80%. You're going to rotate out one of the Castorias that you've already used, bring in Oberon, and Oberon is going to provide the additional 20% here. That's going to be enough for her to fire off an NP again. She'll refund about 37% this time, and then basically you're going to use the remaining Oberon 50%, but you would still be short if you did that. So what do? Well, we're going to get 40% charge because, again, remember, Oberon himself has Dragon trait. So with him in the party, when we activate our charge skill, we don't just get the base 30%. So that is another nice aspect to this, is that you will have enough refund there to fire off the third NP. Now, if you did want to start from 0, we're going to do the same exact thing, only now we're going to start out with the append, and we're going to require Sign of a Smiling Face. I have, again, posed the question of what about other craft essences here. The issue at play is you need something that can provide her with enough refund, because the issue with this is that you're going to need 2 out of a potential 5 hits to actually overkill. And that is something that can be done, but after you start getting higher than 2 out of 5 hits, that is getting a lot harder to do. Especially with it only being in wave 1, it wouldn't be the most impossible task at all, but it is something to keep in mind that that's what would be necessary for this to work. So from here, we're going to use basically all the Castoria skills except for one of the NP gain skills, and then that should be enough to get her up to 100%. Fire off the NP the first time, get back to 40% roughly there. Again, you can see it's razor thin margins basically. And essentially, what you're going to do from there is you're going to then go ahead and swap for Oberon on wave 2 and put him in there, get him the 20%. It's going to bring you up to about 60. Use her charge skill there. That's going to bring you up to full. Fire off the second NP. And then from there, you're going to refund about 43%. Then you're going to go ahead and use finally the remaining Castoria 20% charge skill and Oberon's 50%, and that's enough to complete the 3-turn. For the last scenario here, this is if we are facing dragons and Lamia. It does not matter what craft essence we use then, as again, she'll get a little bit more of a bump up. And so from there, you can see it's pretty much the exact same charge scenario, only the difference here is going to be that because we are at least facing one dragon or Lamia enemy, we can basically get away with 50% charge here from, again, Kurohime. And then essentially you could actually interchange these two skills. This would get you more damage wave 2. This would get you more refund. But it really doesn't matter because you're going to be hitting these base refund points. And with just the extra little amount of charge there, that's all you really need for the charge scenario here to work out. Each one of these will add up to 100, and that will allow you to complete the 3 turns. So again, another really interesting setup there, that she's going to be somebody that you really do just want to use whenever you are facing dragons or serpents, as that will really be a feather in her cap and allow her to function better. Taking a look at Kurohime's proper damage here. Again, the first scenario is going to be double Castoria Oberon, Sign of a Smiling Face with a level 10 Neo Plug Suit. This is the against anything where we need 2 out of 5 overkill hits for Sign of a Smiling Face. And so you can see here damage numbers, first 2 waves there, not altogether too impressive, but about 310 there at wave 3. And then again, with the niche actually in play, boom, there you go. You pretty much doubled the numbers there in wave 1 and 2. And then wave 3, you're definitely going to get a good, I'd say about 50% extra damage out of that. NP2 numbers can definitely allow a little bit more firepower to come into play. And NP5, you're looking mighty healthy, especially in the niche. If we're looking at her actual one-shot damage here, NP1, again, with double Castoria Oberon and a Black Grail, it's actually pretty respectable there for a 4-star. And then as you start looking towards the niche at 630k there, that's starting to look really nice. And as we start scaling things up and we look to NP5, boom, there you go. In her niche, she can actually hit 1 million damage there for just singular 1-turn damage. Now, how does that stack up against, some of Kurohime's other sort of counterparts there? Well, actually, first, let's look at a additional damage scenario here, which is this is going to be basically her facing the dragons and Lamia, at least in wave 2. So basically there, then we don't even have non-niche damage at that point. So we're kind of just going to be looking at the niche damage. Like basically NP1 might not be a dragon, NP3 or sorry, in wave 1 might not be a dragon, wave 3 might be, but then essentially here, wave 2, you're looking at actual niche damage in this scenario. And so boom, there you go. You can see like, hey, she would actually do quite a bit good. And again, if she did have niche in all the waves, obviously that's going to be even better. Same thing here for the other ones where, look at that, boom, you just get that nice little pop off there in the second wave, basically compared to the first one. So you can see just the sheer effect of that super effective modifier. All right, next up here we have her competitors. This is going to be Saber Hokusai. Again, she is a very, very nice welfare in this regard. I really do like her. She's been a very, very strong unit as a welfare. And you can see, again, at NP5, you're guaranteed to get that. You've got solid numbers. Kurohime can outpace these numbers if we start looking at her actual true damage scenarios. At NP2, even, we start to rival it a little bit. And at NP5, we are pretty much just wholly power creeping these numbers. So again, definitely a nice thing, but Saber Hokusai is free, so that is something to consider. Her one-shot damage, definitely solid, a little bit stronger, especially outside of niche than Kurohime. So in that regard, that's food for thought. If you're trying to do one-shot damage with either of these units and the Serpent or Lamia niche is not in play, you might be better off taking one of your welfares or something like that. Take a look at the Trung sisters here. Again, they also have pretty solid damage. Quite nice scaling there, but the Trung sisters don't really have any sort of niche, so that is one of their issues in comparison to her. If she's in her niche, she's probably going to outscale them. Though again, there is something to be said about the firepower of an SSR if you do have additional NP levels. Their one-shot damage, again, actually not too great, but that is because, again, they are a unit that really is going to function well, looping multiple times and kind of getting more of their kit out there. Taking a look at Saito. Saito's probably one of the most one-to-one comparable units, with her also being another permanent single target arts saber, at least in terms of recent additions in that regard. So you can see this one's going to be Castoria Oberon level 100 Royal Icing instead, which Royal Icing is going to get you a little bit more firepower than Sign of a Smiling Face. So he's maybe a little bit slightly better of a looper in that regard. But boom, there you go. You can see he's actually going to do some pretty solid numbers, though not as much in the terms of firepower, because he doesn't have the niche there. And so as we start to look at another scenario here, he can actually work with Black Grail, but it's a similar scenario to her, Sign of a Smiling Face. But you can see this is going to just absolutely turn Saito into a little bit of a monster, especially as you start going up there in NP levels. So this is another thing to think about, is that with Kurohime, it's not that she's necessarily going to be the strongest single target saber for you. You may have other stronger options, and so it's really going to come down to the utility in her kit and whether or not you find uses for that. Taking a look there at his one-turn damage, it is, again, something that could be a little bit suspect, but if you have the higher NP levels, he's definitely going to be solid. And then last but surely not least, we have Lancelot here, who again, I'm going to say he has at least gotten some upgrades on JP. They have really helped out. But a lot of how Lancelot operates is basically via crits and his card performance. So again, him not having the most stellar NP performances, somewhat expected, but also not that big of a disappointment due to how, again, he will function down the stretch with his cards. But again, it is something to consider that, yes, niche damage, again, is going to be absolutely king. And really just Kurohime will probably be outright stronger than him in most scenarios otherwise. So I do think Kurohime is a very nice addition to the roster. This, to me, if you're going to design a more niche sort of 4-star kind of non-meta support, this is a better example of how to design it compared to some of the other ones that we've seen in the game. I do really like how they've kind of done her, and I do think she could be a really good pickup for you, especially if you do have a lot of again, dragon or serpent allies that are someone that you like to use. Kurohime might be another beautiful addition to that sort of team composition for you. So again, let me know what you guys think about Kurohime and whether or not you have your sights set on her. Again, she is a permanent unit, so it's not like you're going to have to roll specifically on this first banner, but we'll see how common she spooks people with. And again, it may just be the case that you never actually do see a copy unless you do try to target her and go after her. But again, I'll be curious to hear what you guys think about this unit. Which Ascension is your favorite in that regard? And again, is she a unit that you really do feel like can make a difference for your account? I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you for watching as always, and have a good one. Okay. Ah. Would be nice to give her another one day. Yeah. I guess it guarantees her some charge, maybe. You're talking about the third skill? Yeah, I just don't like the fact that this is a, conditional taunt. I feel like you either want the taunt or you don't want the taunt. It's really stupid. I think like at that point, pairing the taunt with the charge skill is like, well, you're just going to get it no matter what you do, right? Like that's always somewhat of the issue, if you ask me. But I think at this point, like having conditional taunt skills just like inherently kind of shit. Like maybe again, it works to your advantage somehow. I'm not going to say you couldn't skew this in some way to be useful, but in general, I remember back to the complaints about Yang and her being male only, and a lot of people complained because maybe not all of the enemies in a wave were considered male, or maybe not all of the enemies in a wave were even gendered in any way, shape, or form. So, like, quite literally, you would go in, you would taunt with Yang, not everyone would hit her, and you may have been counting on some of that for like NP gain, and it just didn't work to your favor as a result. Or again, same deal, you may have been counting on them to get hit so that they got the burn debuff on them, and so that way you could actually deal more effective damage to them. So it was always super annoying if you had an enemy that just didn't hit Yang that you were like really counting on to get burned. Now, again, a lot of that was like pre-command code and stuff like that. And really, Kurohime doesn't have any of those specific like gimmicks. But I do think in general, just having like conditional taunt is just not preferable, if you ask me. It really was only Yang before and now her. Yeah. Like, and it's sad because to me, it's a lesson that they learned and they already corrected. And they just did it again. And I'm like, oh, guys, this is a self-inflicted thing. Stop doing that. Like, you already learned that that was a bad idea the first time. Why did you bring it back? The meme was dead. You killed it. You brought it back again. So I don't think it'll be as bad for Kurohime, but I do think it's like just in general a like stupid design choice to do this sort of thing. Just literally give her 3-turn taunt. That's it. That's all you got to do. I think like they just got caught up in the whole like, well, we need everything to be serpent or dragon. So it is what it is. Okay, chat. Wow, it's God, I didn't even realize it's already 11 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and end it here. But again, we do have more content coming for you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna be probably starting 5.2 with you guys, and I have other videos I'd like to record. So we'll see about kind of how I want to do that. I maybe will hold off on those until next week, though, just because, again, I'm going to be getting these 2 videos out here, so that'll be a thing. I'll also, well, yeah, okay. Just in general, I'm going to say, you know, pay attention, but tomorrow, like I said, we should be doing Saberface only 7.2, so that'll be quite the wild ride. And that's probably where all of the more difficult fights are going to happen. But I'm also going to say that don't expect me to get through it all in one night. And if you're worried about me passing, you remember you guys can always watch alongside, and it'll just make it faster when you go to do it on your end. You can come read along with me and see my reactions, and again, react on your own. Just again, please no spoilers for that sort of thing. I'm just checking to see who all's on right now. Let me send you guys over to, I guess, Miss Ivy again. 7.2 next stream? Yep. Just be careful again. I know some of you guys don't want the spoilers, but like I said, you know me. I'm usually pretty spoiler light in that regard, and I try to take care of you guys, so you don't usually have to worry about spoilers with me unless, again, you just don't want to start 7.2 just yet, so... But again, though, thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go give my voice a rest, go give Ivy some love, and I will be back tomorrow. Get those raid emotes ready.